That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
Oh, no tears, please. It's a waste of good suffering.
Fairly alarmed here.
Welcome to MOTN Reads, that is Masters of the Nerdiverse Reads, where we look into some of the best literary gems that comic books have to offer, as well as graphic novels. You can also find this podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, SoundCloud, YouTube, and iHeartRadio. Yes, we're all over the internets, as it were. I am, of course, your host, Mike G, and I am beyond ecstatic to do this show this week because I have someone that I've known for quite some time and has been a actual blessing, I would say, in regards to my comic book knowledge and my availability to comic book knowledge. And I would like to introduce Jeffrey's Comics' own Jeffrey.
Hi, how's it going, guys?
Yes, sir. How's everything going, Jeff?
Oh, it's going pretty good. January is looking good for comic books.
Yes, it is.
And they just keep coming out with good stuff, so we're pretty happy.
I love that, yeah. Especially, there's always the big two, which is Marvel and DC. But I always love seeing, like, the other smaller comic book publishers, you know, throwing their hat in the ring.
They're not doing too well right now.
Oh,
if we don't, I don't think we want to do a business of the business behind comic books, but right now the only people who are really performing well are DC.
Oh, man.
Marvel and Image have both taken pretty big hits.
Wow.
On their business side, and unless they do something about it, they're going to keep taking those hits. So
yeah,
we'll see.
I've noticed a quality, kind of a quality check in regards to DC, where they've been putting out some really good stuff. We were talking about earlier, Batman White Knight is one of the better books. The Doomsday Clock, which I'm really looking forward to seeing.
Doomsday Clock number 3 just came out this Wednesday. You've got, aside from Batman White Knight, aside from Doomsday Clock, you've got Batman Metal and all of the Batman Metal tie-ins.
Yes.
And so that's like 6 books a month almost from DC that we're selling over 100 copies of.
That's cool, man.
Like, and that's a big deal. If Marvel was selling those numbers,
right,
we'd be doing this podcast from my mansion. But sadly, Marvel does not do those numbers. It seems like they need to stop worrying about thinking of the business as at the cost of the other one.
Right.
Like DC seems to think that they can only win by hurting Marvel, and Marvel seems to think they can only win by hurting DC. But if Marvel and DC just said, hey, let's do the Avengers and Justice League comic book, that would be the first comic book to sell 1 million copies in decades. And so it's a little bit of everybody needs their heads out of their butts.
If I found out at Comic-Con they announced like the Amalgam comics were coming back,
yes,
it would blow my mind.
I made a joke about talking about how Marvel could bring some success back, and I said they could just start printing the Amalgam comics. I had 3 customers who just heard me make that joke saying, oh man, I would buy those. Like,
so
people
easy.
Like fun stuff.
Exactly.
And DC is doing like, what if the Flash was also Batman evil?
I love the DC, the metal stuff. Yeah. I've been drawing them like crazy because the designs are so wacky. And I just don't know how that book's going to end. Like, I've been reading it.
I feel like the whole universe has to start. I don't know.
It's something so crazy. But yeah, the book we're talking about this week is a actual classic. I just found out this book is actually from 1989. Which was the year that Tim Burton's Batman came out, which is kind of a funny coincidence given the subject matter of both the film and this book. This book was actually quite groundbreaking at the time, wasn't it?
Oh, for sure.
Because it's so different. Yeah. It's so different. In the book, I'm sorry.
No, I wish my dad could be here for this little part because he owned the store back then.
Yes.
And he could have told you like the crazy sales because this is a hardcover book.
Yes.
So it wasn't just like the idea of a graphic novel. It was the idea of a hardcover.
Wow.
So
like one of the
in
first,
1989, it's one of the first comic books to ever come out as just a hardcover.
Wow.
Because like Dark Knight didn't have that. It was 4 single comic books before it became a hardcover. This one started as a hardcover.
The birth of the true graphic novel.
Yeah.
Kind of in a weird way.
It's like also it really changed the way that like creators got paid, because I've heard Grant Morrison say that like he still makes more money from Arkham Asylum now than he does from anything else that he does, like because he got some. I think I remember, this is not 100% in there, so don't quote me precisely. But basically, like, DC didn't want to do it. And so he's like, you can just pay me based on how many units sell.
Oh, wow.
And it was the best-selling graphic novel of all time. Because it was almost the first. And so it sold like a new comic book.
That's
back
crazy.
So he said, like, he made over $1 million in 1989 from sales.
That's insane.
Yeah.
From a comic book writer. This isn't a movie producer. This isn't like some big name actor. This is a comic book writer. Yeah. You know what I mean? And make those kind of numbers in 1989.
Well, he was smart because he also came over from Britain, so he had already been doing comic books, but then this and Animal Man were his first forays into American comic books.
Don't get me started on Animal Man.
Two of my top 10 favorite all-time single graphic novels.
I wish DC would, I wish Warner Brothers would get their act together so we can get an Animal Man on the live screen.
That would have to be a TV show, though.
Right. Would you want that on CW? I mean, that's really the only
I mean, that's the only place for DC shows, and I mean, I'm waiting for them to make a mistake. Honestly, they keep not. I watch all of them.
They're all really good. I've been watching Black Lightning.
I had to just stop watching Green Arrow because I felt it was the least good of all of them.
And it's not bad.
It's not bad. But I love The Flash. I love Legends of Tomorrow because time travel gives you 5 extra points on my scale.
Yes, sir.
And they're just so silly with it. But then they also love to do time travel, like actual intricate time travel planning.
Yes.
Which is another level of writing that a lot of people skip.
I talk about that all the time, that time travel is such a slippery slope in regards to writing. Because you have to kind of be on your ball and to keep everything kind of tied together.
Oh, absolutely.
You know
keep your rules set up. Keep what the person's doing logical.
Exactly.
It's easy to write bad time travel. It's really hard to write good time travel.
Yeah, I always give my friends...
It's like, there's a reason that when we're saying the word time travel, the only movie that everybody who's listening to this is thinking of is Back to the Future.
You know what? It's funny because I always give my friends, like, time travel could be Bill and Ted, or it could be Primer.
It's like, no, exactly. And they all have a place because Bill and Ted is great.
Yes.
And then Back to the Future is more about the personal journey than the science fiction.
Yes.
That's a big part of time travel.
Yes.
We can go all in on travel show.
This is not the time travel
cast. This is the Arkham
cast.
Asylum show.
This is the Batman-Arkham-Asylum show. This is the Batman-Arkham-Asylum reads. And when I first picked up this book was at Jeffrey's Comics, located Gardena, California. Yes, sir. And we had a comic book club where we would meet every Tuesday and we would talk about these graphic novels. We get assignments like homework. Hey, read Starman Omnibus. What's that? Read, Pride of Baghdad. So good. Things I would have never picked up, right? And I wasn't cognizant in 1989 to be buying books. So this would have been completely off my radar. And I took this home that night, took the bus, came home, and was like, what am I looking at? The artwork is so, I said tactile.
Yeah.
It almost feels like it's almost like you can smell the pages in a weird
absolutely.
way.
Dave McKean uses a lot of photography in his artwork.
Yes.
Like if the original art, quote unquote, could exist for this, it would have like stuff glued to the pages because I've seen some of his artwork, and that's how it's done. Like he makes a full on collage. Like some of them have screws in it, and like broken glass and stuff. It's real broken glass. He didn't draw broken glass. He broke glass and put it on the page and scanned that page.
The one with the electrode. Okay, we're jumping ahead. This is crazy. This is crazy. So what we would do at Comic Book Club, which we're going to do here at MOTN Reads, is we would do our fan cast, where we actually break down the main characters of the story and we cast them based on actors present. We don't do past present because that would be kind of cheating, but anyone who's in the industry now.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, Laurence Olivier is Batman.
Right.
Done.
Got it. Zip, right? Oh man. But yeah, we go through our fan casts and we kind of pick our directors, we pick the actual actors, and we talk about it because this is always a really fun part of the process. Is if you were to make a film out of Arkham Asylum, what would it look like? What do you think it would be best to look like? And
you can also decide if it should be a television show. That's part of our discussion
as well, right? Absolutely, because some fit better as television shows.
Oh, for sure.
Where in this case for Asylum, I feel like this is a movie. It's the way this book is constructed. It has a beginning, it has a middle, it has an end.
Oh, absolutely. This is a really tight. I mean, you could expand this story when you turned it into a movie, honestly.
Easily. And it's timeless. This isn't any particular Batman in any particular canon in any particular storyline.
That's very important, I think, for it, is that, like, it doesn't mention a bunch of stuff that's happening in 1989. He's not like talking about Reagan and Bush.
Right.
It doesn't date it in any way. Like you were shocked when I said, no, this was 1989.
Yeah, because I thought this was like a mid-90s book.
Reading it again, you could have put this book out today.
It would have
been exactly the same.
Yes, and that's what makes it so special to me, that you can give this book to anyone and say, do you like Batman? You want to read something cool? You want to see
you just have to know the basic concept of Batman. If you have any experience with the character Batman, movies, TV shows, comic books, you'll get Arkham Asylum. And that's a perfect segue into how we're going to cast this bad boy. So, would you prefer for me to start, Jeff? Yeah, I'm letting Mike start because mine is super weird.
That's awesome. Weird is good. So when I think about this book, and if you've read this book, you can probably understand where I'm coming from, hopefully, because I am a bit weird, that it gives me a very strong horror vibe. This book is very dark in its atmosphere and in its subject matter.
It's like horror has a very specific connotation now, and it's like boo scary.
Yes.
But this is not that. This is like psychological terror, like Silence of the Lambs, or like movies nowadays would make you afraid of a cat jumping out of a corner.
Yeah,
they don't make you
jump scares.
It's all jump scares. They don't make you truly afraid of the thing.
Yeah.
That is the subject matter of
the
horror movie we're talking about.
The fear, right? So
I was thinking, VHS was the last one I saw that was like, oh shit.
There's some scenes in VHS that's insane, dude.
I can still creep my wife out to this day. We watched it 6 years ago, and I can still do a line from it.
Yeah,
the part where it's the girl who says, "I like you."
Oh my god,
I can do my eyes the way she does it, and so my wife just loses her mind if I do it like that.
Freaked me out so hard because
it was so good.
It was so good, and it had the perfect burn. Okay, we could talk about VHS all day, but if you haven't seen VHS, please check out VHS because it's one of the best anthologies since Creepshow.
Oh, for sure,
easily, right? It's the best.
I haven't seen VHS 2.
It's okay. It's not as good.
Okay,
it's not as good. But when I was thinking of directors, I was thinking atmosphere. I was thinking someone, if you gave them a bit more to chew, they would probably do very well with this. And the director that came to mind was James Wan.
That was on my short list, actually. Yes. That was literally the other name that I was thinking about. I was like, he would do really good.
He would do a really good job in regards to the atmosphere, because this book is full of blues. It's full of like deep reds. It's full of kind of those atmospheric colors, and a lot of James Wan's films are very color corrected.
Oh, yeah. You know I think that this is just my own experience, but I think that happens more in Asian film, both being dedicating to style. Like they do films for style points. And sometimes I miss that, man. Like I feel like no movies have a bunch of set up shots anymore. Like I think only one movie like super impressed me this year.
Yeah, what was that? I'm curious.
Baby Driver.
Baby Driver's so cool. But that's Edgar Wright, man. That guy, he's like Howard Hobbs with the camera,
like,
man.
People are going back and forth about the Academy Awards. I was like, unless Baby Driver was nominated for all 10 Best Pictures, I'm done.
I'm super straight.
It was the only movie that really showed me something new.
Yes.
So like, yes, maybe you could easily argue that other movies are better movies.
Right.
Kind of. Like because we've had a bunch of super serious, well done movies.
Yes.
But I would say that those are they're the same as the next super well done, good movies you're going to see next year.
Thrill me, right?
They have the same atmosphere. Like the story definitely elevates some plain stories above others. Like one of my favorite movies is Good Will Hunting, and it's a very plain story. It's just written so well. But the movie itself is not something like you don't speak about the directing.
Right.
And I can't think of a lot of movies like this year where I'm thinking about the directing specifically.
It makes you want to break it down while you're watching it.
Yeah,
and that's the coolest part.
You want some atmospheric shots so you just feel like you're part of the movie. When it just cuts from talking to talking
you're
to
never
talking
fully
to
invested.
talking, you just I feel like you burn out because there's no point in your life where you're just listening to someone talk nonstop without you being involved for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And every form of storytelling needs to learn to take that step back and let some of that be filled in by the consumer of the art. Let the
scene breathe. You know what I mean? And sometimes some of the more quieter moments in a Insidious or The Conjuring or Sinister are those quiet moments where the atmosphere is just breathing down your neck and you can feel it.
Well, it's like when you ask most people, like, what's the scariest movie?
Right.
What do you think? Not necessarily what's your scariest movie. What do you think most people will answer?
Exorcist.
Yep.
Easy.
And I would say Jaws probably would be the second
one.
And I'm saying that neither of those movies have anything particularly scary in it.
No.
Like if you just took out a scene and watched it out of context, you would be like, why are people scared by this movie?
Is that? Yeah.
But when you watch the whole movie, you're like, oh my God, beaches. No.
Oh no. Father Merrin, don't jump out that window.
Yeah, exactly. You know? I'm not walking stairs ever
again.
That's why I'm fat.
You
Exorcist did it to me.
You know what? Jaws did it to me. That's why I'm fat. I don't go to the beach, man.
Yeah. Don't need no beach body when you're staying away from Jaws.
I love this quote from Rob Zombie. He went to go see it with his little brother. And he said that they were getting out the theater and he was literally in the bathroom of the theater thinking shark. like somehow it's going to come through the toilet and get me. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I choose director James Wan for this weird, nightmarish, almost Batman film.
I will give you my director.
Yes, okay.
Because the casting all needs to be done at once, but my director doesn't give a clue as to my weird mind. Brian Fuller is the American Gods TV show runner and runner of Hannibal, the television show.
Both
two of the most inarguably the most beautiful shows of the last decade on television. You cannot like their subject matter because they get pretty messed up.
Yes,
but you can't deny that it's beautiful and messed up.
Yes,
and Arkham Asylum is beautiful
and messed up.
So I would love him to just do the movie.
See, I love this. This is why this is cool, because we're making two completely different movies, but at the same time, they're both being completely respectful to the source material in different ways, which is the good sign, which is a big sign of a good story. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Something that could be retold over and over from different points of view.
Oh yeah. I think that's something that people don't value is the ability to retell a story.
Yeah.
Both just by you rereading it yourself.
Yes.
And also in like how timeless it is, how it could be remade to still reflect the exact same discussion that we're having today about ourselves.
Exactly. Like
some of the psychiatry might be updated a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
That's about it. You know what I mean? But the core subject matter is still as strong as ever. Mm-hmm. My Batman might as well come out swinging. When I read this book and I look at the artwork, it reminds me of kind of like the 80s Batman, the slimmer, blue cape, gray costume, yellow shield. So I don't think of a bulky Batman.
Yeah.
And when I read this book, I also don't think of a young Batman. I think of a seasoned Batman for some reason, because just the way that
the world itself feels lived in. So it feels like all of the people in it should also be lived in.
Exactly.
Like, I don't think anybody should be young. Like I was almost thinking of a young actress for Ruth Adams, the Doctor.
Yes.
But then I was like, you know what? Like, I want this person to be a living person. And so I went much older.
The youngest person on my cast is the Doctor for me. Okay. Because I always thought like she could be in the Arkham Asylum and this is her case study. The Joker is her case study. The only person that is clearly the youngest from my cast would be young Arkham. You know what? Young Arkham? I take that back. Young Arkham is the youngest of the cast.
Yeah, but after that, I don't think there's anybody that stands out as being substantially younger than the rest when we get to mine.
Cool. Perfect. So for my Batman, I've chosen Mad Men's John Hamm. I think he has the build.
I always had John Hamm as Superman myself.
You know, it's funny because if you take off the mask and take away the curl, Batman and Superman physically can look the same outside of posture. You know what I mean?
Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent don't look the same, but Batman and Superman do. I get
exactly.
that. Yes.
So when I think John Hamm, I can think either way. Like I can see him as you put some weight on him, he could be Superman. You slim him down, he could be more of a. And
I also honestly think that if you can figure out one of the characters, you should be able to figure out the other.
Yes.
Because it's basically they want all the same things and do it the exact opposite way.
Exactly.
So if you can wrap your head around Batman doing it basically for negative reasons to like prevent the same thing that happened to him to happen to anybody else. And Superman does it kind of out of love. I don't want anybody to be hurt. And so you should be able to, it's a different type of psychosis. But it seems so close to each other that I would love to see Christian Bale play Superman.
I think it would have been brilliant
with a good Superman script, not any of this garbage that we got now. Like a good Superman script with him as I think that would have been really interesting, especially to see how far someone like that could have taken the physical transformation that Clark Kent and Superman have to go through.
It is something it's something Grant Morrison chimed on and really made more relevant to me, is that the strides it takes Superman to actually make Clark Kent look different.
Mark Waid did that first.
Okay.
They both did it.
Yes, they both
All-Star
did it.
Superman had it.
Yes.
But so did Superman Birthright by Mark Waid.
Good book.
It's fantastic.
Good book.
There's two great Superman origins, and that's one of them.
Yes.
And in that, he takes acting classes.
Really? That's
he can
smart.
act, and then it shows his mom making suits that are specifically too big.
Yes.
And so, but then like you can look at the sketches for when Frank Quitely is drawing it for All-Star. It's so amazing because he shows how he uses the exact same sized person.
Yes.
But how he makes Clark Kent look a foot shorter.
Even
he slouches, he brings himself in, he hunches, and he just compacts himself so much. And but then back to Birthright.
Yes.
But then Lois Lane is like, "You're hunching all the time."
And she super noticed.
I know. And I'm like, that is
so
the
smart.
single best panel of Lois Lane that has ever been written.
It's so smart, dude. It's so smart. So that was where, because I was thinking Don Draper, Bruce Wayne, easily he could.
He certainly has Bruce Wayne down, but I would point out Bruce Wayne does not appear in this book.
That's very true. But I would like to give that range to a John Hamm, because I think like he's always been on the cusp of being that next level actor, and I think this would be the role where he can really.
I would have him play Superman right now, and I don't even mind the guy who plays Superman.
Not even batting an eye, right?
Yeah, but like, oh man, John Hamm my time travel cast is John Cusack.
Yes.
But we're not doing time travel casts. So
That's fine. That's fine. Oh man, next big name, the Joker.
Mm-hmm. You're coming out swinging. You're starting with the two big ones.
Two big ones. I want to get these guys knocked out because they're one of the two most iconic characters in literature, funny enough, in this modern day and age. Mm-hmm. And my pick for Joker is someone I've always wanted to play Joker. Mm-hmm. Always since I've seen him on screen. And I'm just going to drop the name, Willem Dafoe.
Willem Dafoe plays great crazy people.
He plays great crazy people. And the thing about this Joker is that he's an effeminate Joker in a weird way to get under Batman's skin.
Yeah.
And I think Willem, based on his Boondock Saints work.
Certainly.
And based on his, of course, Spider-Man. The whole time I was watching Spider-Man, I was like, he's a better Joker to me.
Oh man, he was kind of wasted in that movie. He shouldn't have died, and the mask shouldn't have been hard metal.
Because his face.
Otherwise, a really damn good movie. Like you watch it now, and you're like, it's just okay. Yeah. But you've got to remember what we super fans had back then, and it was nothing
like what we saw.
Nothing.
I will tell you the nerdiest thing ever. I used to work at Long's Drugs over by El Segundo, California, just so you guys can personally know where I was at. And I was at work, so I had my slacks and my shirt and whatever. I brought a bag full of clothes because I was going to go right to the opening showing of Spider-Man when it came out. So I had my pants that had a acid washed Todd McFarlane Spider-Man on the leg. Nice. It was an Echo Spider-Man edition clothing.
Oh, cool.
And it had this button-up T-shirt that had all the comics on them, like in a collage. And it had a white T-shirt with a Spider-Man kind of holographic, where it went from the comics to the red and blue suit to the symbiote suit.
Cool.
And it was my favorite outfit of all time. I wore it my first day of art school.
Yeah.
Just so people knew where I was coming from.
Yeah.
And I was the nerdiest guy. I was like, where'd you get those pants from? Like, don't worry about it, man. These are my secret pants. But needless to say, Willem Dafoe is my Joker. If they rebooted the DCEU again, which just looks like what they're doing, I would want him to be Joker so bad. Like, I just think.
Well, I think they will reboot the Suicide Squad and probably everything in the Batman part because whatever's going on with Ben Affleck looks like it's just all falling apart.
He's over it. I think he's just totally mentally.
And so I don't know if they're gonna figure out a way to make him happy or if they're going to just find another actor.
I'm hearing two things. I'm hearing. One, he's super unhappy, but he's going to do it. He's going to do it at least until Suicide Squad 2. Yeah. And I'm hearing if he was to quit today, Jake Gyllenhaal would be taking his role. Which is weird. Which at first was weird. And then I watched Southpaw and I was like, fine.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I haven't seen him do anything physical, and if he's really physical in that.
Definitely watch Southpaw. It's his boxing film.
Yeah.
Made me cry. Like, he sold me, dude. Like, this guy can do emotion. Because usually he has his baby face, and it's like, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
But in Southpaw, he's so rough and rugged and just emotes, and his body was just cut. So it's like, this is Bruce Wayne going nuts on a burglar, man. This is the character. So I can see Jake. I would have no problem with that, but for my Joker, I'm definitely going to go Willem Dafoe.
Okay. I've got outside of my crazy casting that we'll get to, I've got a couple things that I could throw in. I thought Mads Mikkelsen would be an amazing Joker, especially in the androgynous sense. Like, he could pull that off so well.
I have a poster of Mads Mikkelsen in my room. And apropos of nothing. It matches nothing else going on. Because I'm such in love with this guy as an actor, as a person. Like, even now, he's doing work with Hideo Kojima for his next big game, Death Stranding, where Hideo's working with Guillermo del Toro and it's Norman Reedus, and of course, then he's like best friends with Mads Mikkelsen, and I'm just like, this guy can do anything, you know. He was my Doctor Doom. Honestly.
Oh, absolutely.
He was if we were to cast the Fantastic Four today, I would want him to be Dr. Doom.
I think he's such a great actor that I would put him pretty much in any of the roles in this movie because he's good at being creepy
He's
too.
going to be creepy
so
too.
He could be Arkham, he could be Joker, he could be, I would want him to be a major role. So, I mean, he could even be Batman.
He could even be Batman.
Because he's tall and skinny. He could do tall, skinny Batman.
He could put on weight if they needed to bulk him out. So definitely. For my Commissioner Gordon, another guy I've always seen as Commissioner Gordon but never got the break was William H. Macy. If you don't know who that is, he's in one of my favorite movies. Not as soon as I say it, the movie leaves my mind. But think Fargo. What was the comic book film where he was in? With
Mystery Men?
Mystery Men, thank you. He was the digger.
Yes, he sure was.
Yes, and he just has that mustache face where it can be perfect old. Because if Batman's old, Gordon's older.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking like a William H. Macy would be a perfect fit for that.
He's on the show Shameless now as another reference.
Yes, with Emily Rossum, right? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. For Amadeus Arkham, who's kind of the bookends of this story. And if I was to direct this, I would have this be the main story and have the Batman part be the secondary. When Batman comes, you're glued to the screen. And let him open and close this story. And I was thinking of an actor who can really do a fun descent into madness. So I was thinking Bryan Cranston.
Oh, that's fun.
Yes.
I love that.
His voice could do the narration because he has a very good voice. And this man can act his ass off, and he's been doing it since Malcolm in the Middle. Even before then, since Seinfeld.
The Racist X-Files, where he's the racist alien.
Yes, right? Oh, geez, I forgot about that episode.
That's the episode that got him the job on Breaking Bad.
Yes. Oh, man, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, because it was produced by the guy who created Breaking Bad. He worked on X-Files first.
Wow.
And that was one of his episodes. And when he started writing Breaking Bad, he thought back to that time that he had Bryan Cranston in the backseat of Mulder's car for the car drive episode. And he's like, he would be perfect in Breaking Bad. He would, man. And like AMC made him try so many other people. He's like, no. This is the guy. Bryan Cranston is the dude.
He's such a genius,
I like it,
man.
I totally agree. I think that would be an amazing.
He could start clean cut. and then by the end of this film, just have the beard and the hair and
absolutely.
drawing the circular, super text all around his jaw. So yes,
a lot of this movie, or the movie that we're making, also reminds me of Dark City.
Yes.
I feel like you could borrow a lot of actors and directors and
Ron
everything
Perlman could
from
just
Dark City.
Was Ron Perlman in Dark City? No, he was
No.
in the other one. He was in Lost Children, right?
City of Lost Children.
City of Lost
yes.
Children. Okay, I'm mixing those up. But yeah, just that atmosphere, that infinite blue.
Yeah.
That
And spirals
movie.
everywhere. Crazy people drawing spirals.
Yes.
So,
if you see your friend and he's just drawing spirals, don't talk to him that day. Just let him draw his spirals. For young Amadeus, it's kind of a lob, but I really like this young actor. His name is Finn Wolfhard. He's he was recently in Stephen King's It, the recent remake as Richie.
I didn't watch the It movie.
Oh, it's so good. I watched it. We did a review on it
Nice.
recently. And he was also the kid in Stranger Things. No, I'm so bad with the names. He wasn't the kid that kept getting possessed. He was his buddy, the one that's actually in love with Eleven. If spoilers, but if you're not watching Stranger Things, I will tell you to do it immediately. But yeah, he's a good young actor. I think he can pull off.
I would debate you if we ever had a Stranger Things debate. I'm not a fan.
Not a fan of him?
Not a fan.
He's not the best.
Oh, no, I don't mean the actor. I mean the show. I'm not a fan of Stranger Things. I think the actors are actually good.
Yeah, we got to do that because Stranger Things is hit or miss with a lot of people. So I would love to debate that. Mother Arkham, a send up to my Jason Wan pick. Mother Arkham, for me, is going to be Lynn Shay. And Lynn Shay is the elderly woman who plays the psychic in the Insidious films. And she's also sister to Bob Shay, who was one of the guys who helped create New Line Cinema. And she's a character actress. But if you know Insidious, she's the older lady who has that gas mask on. She ends up being in she was just in the most recent Insidious film. What was it? The Lost Key or The Last Key. And she's in all of James Wan's stuff. And she plays creepy very well. My favorite role for her is she's the weird motel or hotel lady in The Mouth of Madness, where she had her husband chained to her ankle the whole time.
Okay.
Watch In the Mouth of Madness is weird. It's Do You Read Sutter Kane for all those who know what I'm talking about. I've been through my big hitters, so let's go through the rest. For Mad Dog, I have last year it just sold me James McAvoy as Mad Dog. Because who's going to out crazy James McAvoy right now after Split?
Yeah.
Split, he should win some kind of award for that damn movie. For Ruth Adams, I actually went with Alice Braga. And she's it's funny, I don't want to typecast, but she's actually the doctor in I Am Legend.
Okay.
She's, and I also wanted to add some diversity in this film because there's not a lot. So,
okay. Totally get that. My plan does not allow to add diversity, but
totally
you'll
fine.
understand when I get to my cast
That's
list.
totally cool, man. This choice made people raise eyebrows, and I may have to defend it. For Two-Face, who has a fairly large role in this book, I chose Michael Fassbender.
I love Michael Fassbender. I totally think he could be in anything. He could be the Joker.
He could be the Joker for that matter.
He's just his Magneto is so pitch perfect
that I don't want anybody else playing Magneto for a while.
Like, honestly, just get a good writer in there, and then his Magneto will be back to great.
And the older he gets, the more he looks like Magneto.
Yeah,
it's the Wolverine conundrum, where it's like the older you get, the more you're just going to look like Wolverine.
Exactly.
So I was thinking Michael Fassbender because he's handsome, he's tall, he's formidable. Like he could be Harvey Dent and just throw some crazy makeup on him.
Yeah,
and he could be that end of the story that with his strong acting that he can just take it home.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So definitely Michael Fassbender for Two-Face. For Mad Hatter, because he has a bit of a weird role in this, I picked Bill, what is his name? Bill Nighy.
Oh, Bill Nighy, that's awesome.
Yes. For those who don't know who he is, he played Davy Jones in the Pirates of the Caribbean films.
Oh, then I don't know who you're talking about.
Bill Nighy, yes. He was actually the police commissioner in Hot Fuzz.
Okay.
He was also he was the main older vampire in Underworld.
Okay.
Bill Nighy.
Yeah, it's
You're thinking Bill Nighy?
Yeah, I was like, Bill Nighy the Science Guy?
No, Bill Nighy the Science Guy would be awesome. That would be cool by itself.
He could be Zeus.
He could be, my Zeus is super weird. My Prometheus, I wrote it down as Prometheus, but it is Zeus, right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm throwing that in. Bill Nye the Science Guy is my Zeus. Because he just talks about electricity the whole
He's
time.
super hype about electricity.
If, like, Bill Nye is talking about electricity in a Batman movie.
And breaking it down. And that's all he gets to do, because there's not really a lot for him to do.
Perfect.
For Clayface, Dr. Destiny, and Scarecrow, because they have very small roles, but they're very physical, I picked Doug Jones.
Okay.
Just put him behind the mask on all three.
Of course.
He can emote each one. Kind of makes me think, like, especially the Scarecrow scene reminds me of Crimson Peak with the red ghost.
I don't watch Crimson Peak. I've heard it was... Or, no, I did watch Crimson Peak, and I did not like it.
I didn't like it either.
But the red ghost looked cool.
The red ghost was cool as hell.
Yeah.
So that's where my brain was at. Was like, he can do that Scarecrow scene. He could definitely do that Clayface scene. He can voice act because he was Abe Sapien in the first Hellboy. And I thought he did a pretty good job. For Prometheus / Zeus, I picked Jeff Bridges for some weird reason.
Okay. I mean, Jeff Bridges is an amazing actor.
Yeah.
And he doesn't get to show his range as much as I think he deserves.
So give Jeff Bridges a moment to overact and cheat and ham it up. Be the AC/DC god of electricity. Would you like power?
Yeah.
With the beard, and it'll be super sick. And last, you mentioned Legion earlier, I believe. Did you mention Legion? I think you... No. You didn't? Well,
I love Legion.
I love Legion.
They would, all the people who did that would also make a very good Arkham Asylum.
So for Dr. Cavish, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. Cavendish, right? Yeah. I picked Dan Stevens. Though, Dan Stevens is Legion.
Okay.
And he's also, the only other movie I know this guy from is Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, he's Beast.
He plays Beast. So I think he can do...
I feel like he's too young.
Yeah, he is a bit too young. I was trying to think of someone who could play good crazy. And I figured, it would be a nice change of pace, like some of the Arkham inmates can be on the younger side a little bit, other than the old heads, as it were. Yeah. So, yeah, that's pretty much my...
But he's not an inmate. He actually works there.
He works there.
And I think to work there, you've got to be...
You got to be a doctor, right?
Yeah.
He's not Doogie Howser, right?
Yeah, and it's not his first year out of medical school, right. Arkham Asylum.
Fair enough.
You're doing your residency. Let me see where this says. Arkham Asylum.
Arkham Asylum?
You've been given the deepest basement wing.
Jeez.
There's a guy who spits fire.
Don't talk too close to poison ivy, please. Yeah. Prometheus is just going to talk to you about electricity all day. Don't give him a battery, and you'll be fine. Now, I have to hear this list, Jeff.
Okay, so Brian Fuller, my director, I want it to be really creepy.
Yes.
Real ambiance, just silent scenes of Batman walking through a haunted house.
Yes.
For minutes.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm going to go from the bottom up.
Cool.
And I'm going to see when you catch what my gimmick is. So Dr. Cavendish, I want Peter Weller. He played RoboCop.
Yes.
If you love Psych, he was a bad guy in an episode of Psych.
Yes.
And he is just kind of a super cool and weird dude, and just a
Peter
really
Weller.
good actor. So I felt like that would be a cool for that role where he reveals that he's the actual crazy person, the Doctor.
Side note: did you hear about the actual screenwriter for RoboCop 1 is thinking of making a sequel to the original?
Okay, I know that there was like supposed to be a good one. And he's just going to ignore 2 and 3.
He's just going to ignore 2 and 3, and he's going to start from 1.
I think movies need to realize that. Like, comic books are not afraid to hit the reset button.
Yes.
And movies seem to be.
Yes.
And I think movies should be hitting that reset button faster.
I'm just going to gripe for like 2 seconds because Neil Blomkamp was supposed to remake Alien, but that got put down by Ridley Scott. And his ideas for his Alien was going to pick up from Aliens. He's going to cut all that out. He's like, oh, that's a chamber dream she was having while she was in cryostasis. And he was going to start it from Aliens and make a sequel.
Well, it's like Superman Returns was supposed to be after Superman 2 and ignore 3 and 4. And, well, I mean, honestly, they need to do that with Star Wars.
Honestly, yes. That's what they're trying to do.
Well, no, at this point, they just need to ignore everything but Star Wars. Episode 4.
Would you start it over? Would you be like, this is the new Episode 4, this is our recast of Luke Skywalker?
I mean, honestly, if you want to make money,
Yes.
like if the job is to make money and the job isn't to actually create decent art,
Yes.
then absolutely the first thing I would do, I wouldn't even bothered with these
reboot
7,
it.
8, 9s. It
People
would have
would
been
be so salty, though. Can you imagine recasting the voice of Vader?
Well, he's the one person who could actually still do it, to be fair.
Yeah, true.
So all the other ones you can get
They're
at
kind
me.
of trying to do that with Han Solo. If Han Solo makes $1 billion, they're going to really start thinking about, hey, maybe we should start from here.
Well, the thing that they really need to redo is the prequels. They're just so bad.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, at this point, I'm not holding out much hope for these sequels either.
No,
I thought the last one was just as bad as the prequels.
Oh, wow. See, I wasn't that bad. I wasn't that,
I feel like
about The Last Jedi.
I feel like it hid all of its super awful parts well enough that people who are on this metaphor I use, where it's like, if you go over a pothole fast enough, your car doesn't dip.
Yeah.
So everybody who liked Last Jedi was people who were like, I love Star Wars, let's go, and they just floored it over every pothole that movie had.
You just light speeded through the movie so you didn't feel it.
Yes, exactly. Because the people who like it, I ask questions they can't answer, and they say, "Oh, it just doesn't bother me." I was like, "But that makes it a bad movie.
Okay,
you cannot be bothered by it, but it's still a bad movie."
Ask me 2 questions. I really want to try.
How long did the movie take in the lives of the people in it?
It took about maybe at max 4 hours.
We see Rey go to bed 5 or 6 times.
That's bad editing.
Yeah, it is. It's terrible editing.
That's bad
it took
editing.
me out of the whole movie because they kept saying we're running out of gas and then cutting to someone taking days of adventure and then cutting back.
They're on the other side of the galaxy, light years away. Maybe time.
It is not Interstellar. Get that shit out of here. It
love
was
it.
just
I love
really bad filmmaking because also it doesn't have to be just Rey and the people on the ship.
Yeah.
Like the adventure that Poe Dameron goes on and the adventure that Finn go on both seem to take more than 3 days.
It take a while.
And it should just be hours because they keep saying we're running out of fluid.
That is a problem of structuring. If they would have started the film with Rey at the beginning going through her days and then had Finn in the middle going through her days and then had the last stand on the planet with the weird.
The problem is there was no
space
way to edit that together because one, it wasn't intriguing in any way.
Yes, some of that stuff. The whole Finn thing should have just been cut. Honestly,
I'm not even getting to that point yet.
Okay.
Just
I'm sorry. I just love having these conversations.
All right. Well, that's the whole point of talking about stuff is that you get distracted.
Yes, and that's what makes these fun, man. I love it. I love it.
We'll do that show differently.
Yes.
All right. Croc and Clayface getting a voice actor.
That's what I was thinking.
Ron Perlman.
Ron Perlman would be an excellent Croc, and he would be, and he's enough range.
His voice is basically Croc and Clayface when he's not doing anything.
Exactly. When he's just
he's Hellboy.
He's drinking
that's
coffee.
His voice.
He's
and
Hellboy.
His voice can be Clayface or Croc, so that's fine.
That's what's up. Yeah, I definitely like him. I can't think of another person.
Here's your first real clue into what I'm going for. Mm-hmm. For Scarecrow, I have Dietrich Bader.
Ooh.
He is Oswald from Drew Carey Show.
Really? Yes. He
the black-haired one on Drew Carey Show.
Yes, he was in. Is that the guy who was in the movie with Tom Cruise and
I tell you what, most people.
Tropic Thunder. He was like, "Spank that ass less." Is that same guy? No, Dietrich Bader is the guy from Office Space.
Yes. Protect your cornhole, bud.
Yeah, protect your cornhole,
but
bud.
also, the other thing that people... I believe he is the ninja instructor in Napoleon Dynamite.
Bow to your sensei.
Yes.
Yeah. That's
so,
what's
like,
up.
Scarecrow is super silly.
Yes.
But, like, also needs to be creepy. And Dietrich Bader is actually pretty tall and skinny. And he's a voice actor.
I just saw a movie called Brawl on Cell Block 99. And it had... the actor Vince Vaughn in the role, and he's usually comedic, Anchorman, all that fun stuff. But in this role, he's the most serious, straight played actor, and it just gave him 100 brownie points with me. I was like,
I've seen a few movies where he goes drama, and he's actually very talented.
He's very talented.
I think Vince Vaughn deserves more work.
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm skipping that one because it reveals what my deal is. All right, for Mad Hatter, I've got Will Arnett.
Okay.
The guy from...
he's been in a bunch of stuff.
He's been in a bunch of stuff, but a lot of people
Batman.
know him as Job from Arrested Development.
Magic.
Yes. Tricks is what whores do on the street. I'm a magician.
I'm a magician.
And it's Mad Hatter.
That's
who
so
does
cool.
Magician stuff.
Yes.
All right, for Mad Dog, I've got Bruce Greenwood.
Yes, he's so cool. He plays everything.
He's one of those guys.
He's one of those character actors. Like, I know him from The Burbs. He's like,
That's an old one.
He's like, get that Lamo out of my yard. He's like, get out of my yard, Lamo. That's where I know him from. That's you say that name and immediately that's the movie that pops up in my brain.
All right, let me see if we can find any other movie that's a bit more.
Oh no, him. He was in Gerald's Game.
Okay.
Did you watch Stephen King's Gerald's Game on Netflix?
No, I didn't.
It's my second best movie of the year.
Oh wow, cool.
And it's the best Stephen King adaptation. I will say that flat out.
Wow.
Gerald's Game is amazingly well written, and he would be perfect as that actually because he kind of kills that role as well.
Mm-hmm. Let me see.
Yeah, man.
Oh, he's Pike in the new Star Treks. That's got to be what most people would recognize.
I was thinking of someone else. I was actually thinking of someone else. He's not in The Burbs.
Never mind. But he's definitely Captain Christopher Pike.
He's definitely Pike. That's my dad's favorite captain for some weird reason.
Oh, because he's a badass, dude.
Pike is the coolest, dude.
He's in iRobot.
He's the character actor who, his
it's just
face.
like, as soon as you see his face, you're like, okay, I've seen this guy in a bunch of stuff.
Right.
He played JFK in that 13 Days movie. Nowhere Man. That was actually kind of a cool show.
Yeah. The ones you wish they can bring back, right?
Yeah. So you've seen him around in a bunch of stuff. He's just kind of an old, usually dignified guy, but I wanted the.
He plays a lot of presidents. So
I want the old guy to I want Mad Dog to be kind of. You're not supposed to see that he's crazy, right?
It reminds me of Mindhunter. It's another show on Netflix.
Yeah.
It's really, really good.
I haven't watched it, but I've heard that it's really good.
Super good. Super good.
All right. For Mother Arkham, I've got Helen Mirren.
Nice. She would kill it. That's one.
She's in a creepy, scary movie now. The
Winchester House.
Yeah.
Lady Winchester, something like that.
It's just called Winchester, but it's about the house in San Jose that's super weird.
Yeah, man.
It's like based on that house for real. I think it might be filmed there.
That's dope if they let them film there.
All right, so now I have to reveal my plan.
Well, okay, I had the
if you really knew Batman, you might have been able to figure it out at this point.
I kind of have an idea because I think I see a trend.
Yeah. So when I read Arkham Asylum, I see it as a dive into Batman's own sanity.
Yes.
It's all about Batman.
Yes.
Like even the villains that he sees are through his eyes. It's all Batman. Mm-hmm. So every male character in this movie is a person who has played Batman before.
That's awesome.
Every name that I've said is a person that's played Batman already.
I've noticed that.
Peter Weller played Batman in The Dark Knight Returns, the recent film. Ron Perlman played both Hellboy and Batman in the Justice League Heroes video game.
Yes, he did.
Dietrich Bader was the voice of Batman in Brave and the Bold. Yep. For Dr. Destiny, I have Ben Affleck.
That would be cool. Throw a mask on him.
Throw a mask on him, have him be a short little cameo.
Yes.
Mad Hatter, Will Arnett, who plays Batman in the Lego movies.
Absolutely.
Mad Dog, Bruce Greenwood, who plays Batman in the Young Justice television show.
Oh, they're bringing that back. I'm so happy.
That's pumped. Mother Arkham, don't have any old women that play Batman, so I can't do anything with that. Young Arkham, I think you can guess. The kid from Gotham, David Mazouz.
I like that kid, man.
So he would play young Arkham in mine.
Would you be happy if he aged out and they actually gave him a shot?
At Batman?
If he
I really didn't like Gotham, and it has nothing to do with that kid as an actor.
You know what sold me? I hated Gotham until I rationalized it in my head to where I was like, this is 1960s campy Batman now. And then I started liking it more.
But like, my problem was just like the whole first season was just so trashing James Gordon's life and also his sense of honor. And it's like, no, the one thing that Gordon never gives up is his sense of honor.
Yes.
And it destroys his life.
Yes.
Not the other way around.
Right.
Gordon is a person who is so pure that Gotham tries to destroy him.
Right.
And he can't be a guy who trades his morals in right away. That's not the character of James Gordon.
Then you would hate the Telltale version of Batman, where spoilers.
Go for it.
is that they actually gave the Waynes mob ties to the Falcone family. Hidden secrets that's unveiled by like Hugo Strange or something. So his Thomas and Martha Wayne were actually part of the Falcone crime family in a weird way. And that the reason they actually were shot in Crime Alley because it was a mob hit. And that it was only recently like revealed in that storyline because the Telltale stuff is its own isolated universe, of course, but they play with certain things. And if you have a chance, obviously, right? So if you have a chance, definitely play it. It's not very like combat heavy, but those is very well voice directed because it's Telltale. Yeah. Those guys get amazing voice actors, but definitely check it out. It's definitely worth it.
The ones that I wouldn't mind playing the movie versions are the CW shows.
I was upset when they actually gave away what they were doing with Justice League film because I wanted
like watching the Justice League movie. I'm like, why on earth did you pick this kid and not the guy who's playing Flash?
Thank you, Jeff.
It just seems like a really stupid decision.
It's the stupidest decision in the world because
like if you had brought me the Flash and it was that kid who played Spider-Man and he was like infinitely charming, I'd be like, you know what? Okay.
Fine, right?
But there was nothing in that Justice League that would have made me pass over the super duper charming Grant Gustin.
Grant Gustin, I mean...
We're not talking about Justice League, which was also a pile of crap.
It really triggered me because it's like...
this should just be Nerd Trigger Warning. That should be the show.
Nerdtrigger.org. And it's just like, it would have been so different from Marvel. Right? Rather than the Trinity, you put all your other guys in shows. You put them on the CW. You let them build a fan base. So when you introduce Grant Gustin into the film, people are going to see it just for him.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. You could have had Green Arrow. What's his face?
Why on earth even think about doing someone else? Like, Stephen Amell is so adamant that he be the only person that plays Green Arrow that he does the voices when Green Arrow shows up on cartoons.
On other stuff.
Including the Lego movie, where there is one line from Green Arrow. He did it. He's like, no one is Green Arrow but me.
That someone had to say this in the office. Yeah. We have these guys, we're already paying them. Throw them in the movie, and it will be a perfect fit. If you want to do the multiverse, quote unquote.
But the other thing is that they didn't make a pick that was for money.
No.
Like, this kid, he was not bad, but he's not going to sell the Flash movie unless I'm really out of touch with today's youth and he's really famous.
Ezra Miller, I didn't know his name until they told me.
He seems like a nobody, and they had a nobody who's already played the Flash for 4 years.
And it's one of the stronger shows on that channel.
And also just like, think, like, if movies could get TV audiences, it would be nonstop. Well, I go for colorful metaphors, so I don't know if I can do that on these podcasts.
Go for it. Screw it. All right. I'll put it explicit. Sure.
Okay. I lost my train of thought.
Sorry, my cursing is that powerful. Just put these guys. And you have a Martian Manhunter who does a great job on Supergirl. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing is that also, like, those are two different audiences.
Yeah.
Like, and so you get all of your TV show fans to go to the movies. And then you just get every Justice League person to go to the movies. And it
makes me so mad that, like, someone had to mention it. Someone had to say, we already have these guys on the payroll. I don't want to see another Supergirl. I just want to see what's her face who was on ABC, or I think it was NBC, and now she's on the CW. She's my Supergirl.
Oh, absolutely. I don't want any other Supergirl.
He's earned it, right?
Oh yeah.
Ever since, like, even this season.
I mean, both of them have earned it far more than any of the actors in the movies.
In the movies, by a country mile. These are small enough characters to where you can have your Gal Gadot and your, I guess at this point, Jake Gyllenhaal and your Henry Cavill, but then you can have the smaller Justice Leaguers who fill out the group. There, we have a Hawk Girl. You know what I mean? In Legend of Tomorrow. Like,
we don't need a movie for all of these characters.
No, we do not. We don't need a movie for Cyborg.
Yeah.
That should be a Teen Titans movie.
Well, it's like also they're talking about that with like Marvel, and now they're saying like one of the next movies is Black Widow. And like, I totally get...
They're doing it for the fans, man.
I get the female representation. There's just so many better female characters
like
at
Captain Marvel.
Well, Captain Marvel they're doing next. Next for real next.
Yes.
But like after that, like they're doing Jessica Jones, so you've got that really on lock. But...
I wouldn't mind... I don't know. Like...
Well, because she's not written very well in the movies.
Yes.
And, it's like she's easily the least interesting. Although Hawkeye is in there too. He's pretty
rough too.
The best bit about him is the Saturday Night Live bit where he's like, "Yeah, I'm out of arrows. I got to go home."
He's like, "You have 15 arrows. I have 15 shots." He's like, he had this.
It's like, man, the thing only fits 15, like 16 if I really jam them in there, but that's dangerous.
But that's dangerous, man.
All right, let me get back to my casting.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, so now that I've revealed, so my interpretation of this book is that it's all Batman.
Yeah.
And that and so the next cast, Commissioner Gordon is Val Kilmer.
I could see that. Absolutely.
For Two-Face, we've got George Clooney.
Oh, that would be cool. I like that a lot.
Because he's the handsomest one who's played Batman. And so the most handsome person should be Two-Face because it needs to be... It needs to be a true loss that the person lost half his face.
Exactly.
So it can't be an ugly dude.
Yeah, man.
And of all the people who've played Batman, George Clooney is the prettiest.
Yes, he is.
Then for Ruth Adams, I still went with my Batman theme, Michelle Pfeiffer.
Oh, Michelle Pfeiffer.
She's the.
She doesn't do enough work.
I think she's the only respectable actress from those.
Honestly,
first group of movies.
Easily,
you don't see a lot of it. You don't see Kim Basinger in movies anymore.
Or Uma Thurman for that, man.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, she might be all right too, but I can see Michelle Pfeiffer as that character, kind of a reserved but very strong-willed.
I saw Mother, which a lot of people were just like, "Why did you see Mother?" Darren Aronofsky's. He's another director who I kind of had on my short list to do this.
He was tied to do Batman Year One.
Yes, and I would have thought he would have killed it. But Michelle Pfeiffer's a strong pick. Yeah, a super strong pick.
All right, and for Arkham, I have Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman. He's an older man.
My toes are wiggling, dude. That's so cool.
He's an older man, so he could totally pull off. Voice acting is acting.
Voice acting is acting.
That's like because I've been to hear him speak.
Yes,
and he says like a bunch of people come and ask me like, how do you get into voice acting? And I say you get into acting. He was trained at Juilliard.
Oh, then, man.
With Christopher Reeve.
What?
Well, Christopher Reeve was there. Kevin Conroy was there.
Small world,
That's
man.
crazy.
That's beautiful, dude. Like,
and so, like, this actor can do anything, and he chose to do voice acting.
I'm going to hope my thought for your Joker is, if you're going in this direction, I wonder
there's only one left. So the Joker is Christian Bale.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, man. Like, Christian Bale, that's the Joker. It would be such a... what would his voice be? I'm just trying to wrap my brain around the face.
Have you ever seen The Machinist?
Yes. Kind of like that, huh? There you go.
Like super skinny and really weird and creepy.
Really weird and creepy and kind of... He doesn't have to go Machinist skinny, but if he was like nice lean...
Just lean.
That would be perfect.
Yeah.
That would be perfect.
And then for Batman, I actually want a blank face.
You never see Batman.
You never see Bruce Wayne's face, so it's only Batman.
You don't, and you know what? That works perfectly because it's going to be like Carl Urban in Dredd.
Exactly. So there were only there's only two actors.
Yes.
That are known for taking roles where you don't have to see their face.
Yes.
So Hugo Weaving or Carl Urban as
knock
Batman
me out.
Is what I would do.
Knock me out, man. Put me to sleep. Hugo Weaving's one of those guys where it's like he was wasted as the Red Skull.
Yeah, really wasted.
Hard.
Yeah.
And from interviews, it kind of turned him off of superhero movies, which is sad.
Yeah.
Because V for Vendetta is one of my favorite adaptations.
I think the only thing that Marvel is doing wrong is the villains, so I can see why the actors who come in to play the villains are like, I don't really like working for Marvel.
All
it's
of
like,
them
I got 10 minutes.
Way. If it's not Loki.
I got like 10 minutes in the film. My character arc was nothing.
It sucks, man. It makes me so worried about like Thanos. Like, I'm so worried, man. Like, Thanos is going to be nothing.
No, I'm not worried about that. People are going crazy.
And Brolin's a beast, so he's going to kill it.
He's good. He's a really good voice actor.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that was my descent into Batman's madness. Is that every person he meets in the Arkham Asylum
is a reflection of him
and has played Batman.
Yes.
So they could get into their Batman mindset.
Can you imagine that stage photo?
Yeah.
That set photo? Mm-hmm. That would be beautiful. Like, it would be the ultimate love letter.
But basically, I would tell all of these actors, you're playing Batman, playing this character.
So how would you think Batman would interpret this character?
Yes.
And now that you mention it, it puts a completely different spin on how I look at this book.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like the Clayface scenes and the Joker.
Well, I mean, like, because it's all, like, obviously the Arkham story is supposed to reflect Batman's journey through the asylum.
Yes.
Back when it was just was it a sanitarium or just a hospital?
I think it was just a plain old hospital at first.
So, like, it's all because that's the descent of the building into madness. That's
Right.
the Cthulhu Dark Worlds horror.
Yes.
And then Batman is reflecting that exact same story in his journey. So I want someone who's played Batman in every spot in this movie.
It's a reflection of himself through all of it, because this is a descent into his madness.
Yes.
And his overcoming of that madness.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is Batman's only true victory.
Yes.
When you get down to it, when you look at what he does and what he tries to accomplish, like this is him conquering his own demons, which when you get to the core of Batman, that's Batman's a real villain.
Is himself.
Yes.
And and with this book, he is conquering his own demons in that sense.
Yes.
He is seeing the worst of himself in these villains. And they kind of play with it. They, like, in dialogue in between, some of Joker's dialogue harkens back to it. A lot of Mad Hatter's dialogue harkens back to it. Are you in the prison, or is the prison you?
Exactly. It's all about, like, self-identity.
Yes.
So that's why I want to go super trippy with it and have every Batman. I looked it up. This is just about everybody who's alive who's played Batman.
This movie, just throw money at it, man. This movie would be. And what's crazy is not all these actors are big names, so you can do it.
And also, like, I bet you could guilt George Clooney into doing it, because you'd be like, you blame yourself for Batman 4. We're gonna forgive you.
We're gonna forgive
if
you
come and do Two-Face.
And do Two-Face, please. He would do it just for the lulz, though.
Yeah,
he seems like a cool enough guy.
I feel like Christian Bale loves acting so much that if we told him you now get to play the Joker, he would be freak out just for the opportunity. I think he would like the opportunity, the challenge.
Play the other side of the coin.
Yeah. And, oh man, I would love I think that would be perfect in a lot of different
connotations, man. Like a lot of different ways you would look at that.
But just other movies and stuff too. Like, the way you should be thinking about it is that whoever plays like Reed and Doom, you should be able to switch
them guys out.
And I like the idea that you can switch Joker and Batman.
It's the best villains are reflections of themselves.
Heath Ledger could have been a very interesting Batman.
He would have been a very good Batman, honestly, if given the opportunity. And I
just think that also you need to understand both psyches to play either character in a movie where they're both there.
They're truly two sides of the same coin. Chaos and order.
I think
restraint and
lunacy. I think Scott Snyder is doing a really good job of writing.
He's my favorite writer right now.
He's doing a really good job.
He's such a cool guy. I follow him on Twitter.
The Joker as the mirror of Batman. Yes. He's doing a very good job of taking that as far as anybody ever has.
You said Reed and Doom, and it just made me really want a Marvel Studios Fantastic Four movie.
I mean, that's all I care about with the Fox merger. Think about
every day.
Yeah,
I just want Doom to play in that sandbox and do whatever.
Well, I'm curious if they're just going to scrap every movie that Fox was working on.
Yeah, that's the plan. I think that's the plan.
But how far is New Mutants?
They pushed all that stuff back to 2019. Even Deadpool 2 got pushed.
Yeah.
Because they just don't know what to do with it right now. Because
I would think they'd let Deadpool keep going, but Disney is not one to let something not be looked at by 500 lawyers, so we'll see.
But they also like money. And I think that they wouldn't recast it. There's certain characters.
No. I think they've gone too far with the production of New Mutants.
Yeah,
but I think they will do drastic reshoots.
Yeah, because they want to fit it into the MCU.
Exactly. They're not going to let any movie that's not in the can right now be released by Fox.
The only film that they're not going to touch, in my opinion, is Dark Phoenix, because they don't care. That is the psychological.
But that's not getting made.
No, I thought Dark Phoenix was already being made.
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah, man. I thought it was already being made, but
I guarantee you it's not being made now.
Not now. No, they put the.
I'm saying that the only two that are going to be produced as is.
Yeah.
The only one I think that'll be produced as is Deadpool 2. And I think New Mutants will go through drastic reshoots to fit into the greater X-Men universe they want to start building.
Because Deadpool's an easier one, because one, he has a mask, so you don't see mouth movement, and you can just sub in any voiceover line.
Well, no, I think
easily. You know,
But I don't think they're going to touch Ryan Reynolds. I think that's the only successful one, and it's also the only one where Fox actually stuck to the comic book.
Yes.
So
Deadpool was such a surprise to me.
Marvel can't have much of a problem with Deadpool because it's the comic book that they're publishing put on the screen.
Anyway, and it's so isolated.
that's why I think that's the one that won't be touched. And I saw that preview for New Mutants, and I'm like, what the fuck is this garbage?
What is it actually?
and so I can imagine Marvel coming in with pretty heavy hands and redoing that entire
Alice
thing.
Braga's the doctor in that movie where she has that big scar on her face.
Yeah,
man. I was like, what is this actually? But isn't it kind of weird that helicarrier was in Deadpool? So they could just not touch any of that and let it exist in the MCU.
Did they call it a SHIELD helicarrier?
They were saying it was a SHIELD helicarrier.
Okay.
They were saying it, but they weren't saying it. You know what I'm saying? Like then
they didn't say it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't copyright a ship design, really.
A ship design that looks eerily familiar.
It's different enough.
It's different enough to not get sued.
But also, you keep in mind that like the contracts that they signed to get the rights to these characters is very weird. That's why like Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are in both of them.
Which I think is hilarious, actually. Okay, before we go into the actual meat of this comic, real quick question: Who's the better Quicksilver?
Oh, the only this is Marvel, not the Marvel, the Fox one.
The surviving one, right?
Yeah, exactly. That God, I did not like Age of Ultron, and I thought
no one liked it, dude.
And I thought that just out of nowhere kill was so like it was so Kenny
cheap.
from South Park.
Yeah,
that like I was expecting Hawkeye to say, "Oh my God, you killed Quicksilver,
you bastards!"
It was like.
It's so
and it's
wrong.
Like also Marvel has done this a couple times now where they have the person die or get hurt to a thing that does not hurt them.
Why would those words even?
One of the things that like just really bothers me in superhero storytelling on the big or small screen is the thing that they really love doing is instead of writing a villain that could pose a threat to our hero, they always find a way to make the hero not have any powers.
In the moment they get struck down.
And I'm like, that's not what we come to superheroes for. They solve their problems with superpowers. You have to write a harder problem. Dummy. Because like the Luke Cage show, I liked it, but 4 episodes were him in a hospital, and I'm like, no, his only superpower is that his skin don't break. That's the only power he has.
Right.
So you having him injured by like a special super bullet just leaves it open for the super bullet to be in every episode, and it just takes away every single thing that makes him a character. And they just keep doing it. Like in Iron Fist, when he gets to New York, he's like, my chi doesn't work. Oh, so let's not have any kung fu in the first 3 episodes of Iron Fist.
Don't get me started on Iron Fist, man.
But it's over and over they're doing this, and
it's a
what DC thing were we talking about that it started us on this?
It was what started us on this was the Quicksilver. The Quicksilver death.
So Quicksilver in Age of Ultron 2 dies to a thing that can be run away from
easily.
And that is like
right? With his skill set.
Like give him this is me in the 5 seconds since I said the last sentence.
Yeah.
Give him the poetic ending of like having to carry the bomb away.
Yes.
And he's not fast enough to escape.
Make him the martyr.
He saves people.
Yeah.
And then can't run away fast enough because there's a time constraint of some kind. Like why did he stop in front to stop the arrows? Why didn't he take the 1 or 2 people
as
that
he's
it was?
running in, time is slowed, right?
Yeah.
So he would have saw the bullets coming as he was coming through.
Why was he running? He was running there to save people. Why didn't he move them rather than jump in front of them? It's not his power set. It just seems like really poor writing because, hey, insert death here. We'll figure it out in post. And they didn't.
We can't have him live. How do we do it?
And it's like... an interesting new character, kill Hawkeye or Black Widow.
Easy. Yeah. I want Age of Ultron. I want there to be a weird Mortal Kombat Annihilation death in the beginning of Infinity War, where someone just gets punched through in the first 5 minutes. Like, set a tone.
That would be good. I mean, I like it. I think that's kind of necessary because
set a tone. Like, this is serious.
You need something to say that Thanos is different than everybody else.
He needs a moment where he says, "Hi, I'm Hawkeye. I shoot." Nope. Right through your face, like Demon Knight style.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, snap. I guess this is serious now.
Mm-hmm.
It needs that tone setter. So, like you said, so people know this is not your mere Ultron throwaway villain. which is sad because Ultron shouldn't be a throwaway villain.
Yeah, they just did so little with him. It was just a real train wreck, that movie.
Criminal. But let's talk about this book. Let's talk about Arkham Asylum in itself. And kind of like the story behind this, which is on its surface a very simple story. There's a hostage situation at Arkham Asylum, and Batman has to go save the day a la Batman style. And there's a book-ended storyline about the origins of the asylum, told by the owner / creator of the asylum, Amadeus Arkham.
But he's keeping this journal as he himself is slowly being driven mad by the building. By the building itself,
which it has some kind of otherworldly manifestation within itself,
That's why
supposedly.
The subtitle of the book is Arkham Asylum, A Serious House on Serious Earth.
Yes.
And that is from a different book. A Serious House on Serious Earth it is, in whose blent air all our compulsions meet, are recognized and robed as destinies.
Jeez. This is a Batman book, ladies and gentlemen. Like,
so that's
it's not playing around.
Quote, and then there's like a bunch of Lewis Carroll stuff because it's all very Mad Hatter through the looking glass.
Dream within a dream kind of
and
stuff.
And it's even called The Passion Play. It's like he wanted to call it Passion of the Batman.
That's what's up. Yeah.
So like that's the first 2-page spread when you start reading the book.
Yes.
The Passion Play as it is played today. The Passion Play is the death of Jesus.
That's crazy.
And so this is the death of Jesus told as Batman.
And you can even see it like in the later parts, the death and the rebirth, of his psyche pretty much. He has to rebuild his own fervor and he rebuild his own kind of sense of why he's doing this. Because he was afraid. And let's go into the story. It's hard to even pick this up because one of the Facebook suggestions I got from people I've been asking is I don't think this should be made into a film because the story kind of feels disjointed. And I wrote back, well, they would take one hell of a director to figure that out now, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And with the religious kind of the religious aspects of this book. Maybe that's why I was thinking Darren Aronofsky as a director.
He could certainly handle that.
You know what I mean?
I think he's kind of gone off the rails in his subject matter.
Watch Mother, man. That mess is not meant for humans. That's some kind of fifth dimension film, man. Oh, man, but
that's why Brian Fuller was my pick because he uses a lot of religious imagery in Hannibal and a lot in American Gods because it's all about religious imagery.
It's all about religious imagery. And I want to talk about the opening scene in black and white, in pencil, mind you, which I love because I love this guy's art style. It's all over the place. Where Commissioner Gordon invites Batman to pretty much answer the phone and it's Joker on the other line. Mm-hmm. I would like to mention that Joker's font is beautiful but extremely hard to read sometimes, especially when you're
not the first person to tell me that. I remember that was a common comment at our book club for that one.
It's just this and I get it, right? It's this manic. He has to have his own voice, and of course, when I read it, I hear Willem Dafoe, kind of a la. If you saw Death Note, his Rook, his voice is very Jokery.
And also, it's black and white because it's not the real world. Arkham Asylum is the real world. So the only thing in color is the stuff that takes place within Arkham Asylum.
Yes,
because the flashbacks actually start the book, and it's when young Arkham has to deal with his grandmother who's decided to eat a bunch of cockroaches.
I'm full. I'm already full. Such a horror moment.
And
right?
I almost wouldn't want to mess with the pacing of this book.
No.
Like, you start with that super creepy scene, then you cut to, like, a black and white.
If you open a Batman film.
It feels unreal. Like,
yes.
Put it in black and white, put rain in it, and then film grain. Just make it look...
Would you give it that Sin City kind of Passover, or is that too extreme?
I wouldn't want... That's too contrasty for this. Like, this is very much Impressionism.
Yes.
So how do you film something as an Impressionist? You would have to do a lot of filters.
Right.
You'd have to do some After Effects, like black and white.
That opening scene.
I would almost want just that part to be filmed on film so it has, like, the burns. But you can do that in post. So I would want all the parts that are outside to feel completely not real.
You know what's a movie that reminds...
almost animated.
Almost animated.
Animated.
The beginning.
It's just... it's just like maybe at most a 5-minute scene before Batman walks into Arkham and it becomes color.
How bold would that be if you started a major motion picture film?
Well, like, I mean, that's
in animation.
I think that's the next step for these superhero movies. One is the crossover, which we're finally getting with Avengers.
Yes.
And the other thing is that, like, we got to see some of the cooler non-superhero comic books out there.
Take risks. It makes me think of Natural Born Killers in regards to its composition and its change in scenery. Mm-hmm. It makes me think of things like, I just had it on the tip of my tongue, like Bram Stoker's Dracula. The way that Francis Ford Coppola was playing around with so many different ways to shoot a film. You know what I mean? He had all types. He had 16 millimeter running. He had the latest technology. He had graphics, but he also had stop motion. And he also had like matte paintings when it was totally unnecessary at that time. And I think this film would really be cool if it just kept flipping. It kept flipping its texture. It kept flipping its style.
Well, like, I'm also good, like, because by super meta, it's got everybody who's played Batman in it, so fuck it, I'm going even deeper. I would almost want all of the voices of the villains to not come from a specific direction when they're spoken out loud in the movie.
Ooh, kind of like omnidirectional?
Yeah.
Kind of like he's hearing it in his head?
That's whenever the villains talk, it's surround sound.
That'll be kind of cool, kind of like...
And whenever, like, Batman or the doctors or any of the real people talk, it's where it's supposed to be.
Have you ever been in a D-Box seat where they have, like, all these speakers around your head and you can kind of hear the 3D audio? That would be kind of cool to kind of hear it around you versus it at you.
Because it's like the building.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the building is talking to you through these villains.
This is pretty much a Dunwich horror. Is what it breaks down to.
Oh, absolutely.
And Batman is level-headed all until he starts to go into the descent into this action, into the asylum.
Did you ever see Scanner Darkly?
Yes.
Like, we'd almost need to direct the guy who directed that almost.
Yes. Cause
like, somebody who's really
out
used
there.
to changing some of the formats that you're filming with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we go from the opening scene, which would be killer, opening scene of Batman where it has nothing to do with Batman, right? And we go into Commissioner Gordon.
And I mean, also that opening scene with eating the cockroaches tells you how different a story you're getting prepared for.
No one would be ready. No one would be ready if that started a Batman film.
Yeah.
Then what am I walking into? It's one of those things where it's like when people brought their kids to go see Watchmen.
Yeah.
And it's like the biggest mistake you could have ever made. Right? It's like, it's like, how would you market this movie? Like, it would be the hardest to market.
It would be Batman for adults, but
it would be
also
a lie. Like anything you market it as, if it's truth.
I would do the preview as horror with Batman.
That would be cool.
I mean, you can't keep that a secret.
You can't keep that a secret, right?
They've got to realize that this is a horror movie starring Batman.
Yeah, absolutely. And what makes me think about the opening scene is the skrit. While the Joker is kind of buttering up Batman, and you hear that skrit. It's like, and as a reader, you're like, "What is that?" And then you and Joker kind of lets on that. What was the name of the actual captive? Was it Ruby or Rose? I forget her name. I wanted to cast her too, but I decided not to at the last second because she had such a small role.
I mean, I don't remember her name either.
Yeah,
through the book
because she was only in the front for like 2 seconds. I'm trying to see if I can find her name. A young girl. They listed as a young girl, but she actually had a specific name.
What? Okay, I've got an interesting topic for us because I know we don't want to just break down and reveal the ending or anything. Right?
No, not
we
yet.
don't do that
because I want people to go read this book. Actually,
yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Oh wait, I lost my idea.
Yeah, this book really plays on just art. Like, I'm that guy who reads a comic for the art. I'm an art first, story second kind of guy, just because I'm an artist. But the art in this is like unlike anything I've ever seen in regards to like, because the artist who did this did a lot of Sandman, right?
Yes.
Yes, the Sandman is kind of similar in style. But if you give this to someone who's just a casual reader, they're not going to know what to take. They may love it or hate it, honestly, because it's so different. You know what I mean? And I would like to talk about the games for a second, too.
Sure.
Because the first thing people think when you say Arkham Asylum is the Rocksteady games that were honestly the best comic book games ever made, in my opinion. Ever.
And it has a similar plot, it just doesn't have the psychological aspect.
And the psychological aspect is only in the first game, and it's buried and subtext.
Yeah.
You actually, when you were playing the game, you can actually go
You
into
can find all of Arkham's messages, which
Yes.
is taken directly out of this.
word for word out of
Yeah.
this book. And you can find his cell with the circular writing. But there's really no explanation for it. There's no, like you said, out of context, it doesn't mean anything. It's not scary. And if the game would have committed a bit more to the horror side of it, I think the game would have had a bit more impact rather than it being mostly a Metroid kind of, dungeon crawler in a weird way. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So, and then it was like, oh, I like the games. Like, oh, then read this and behold. Like I said, like one of the more morbid Batman stories you'll ever read. Oh, man.
I mean, it was also an episode of Batman the Animated Series.
Really? I missed that. Which one?
I forgot the name of it, but there's an episode where they take over and Dr. Ruth is in it.
Is it one of the later ones? Like,
I don't remember. If I remember the animation style, I think it's the first half animation style.
Okay, before the Batman Superman adventures.
Before it became a little bit more angular.
Yes,
that's just the animation change. It's still the same continuity. Oh, but anyway, I thought of my topic of conversation. Yes, I don't think we want to go too much deeper.
I want people to read this.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to go too deep.
Here's the one thing that has aged poorly with this book.
Yes,
is Batman villains.
Ooh, yes.
There have been a bunch more that are
better fits, you think?
Or just if we're making a movie, it's got to be longer than this.
Yes.
So he's got to, I think, go through a few more villains.
Yes. So
like which ones aren't represented that should be represented?
Off the top of my head, immediately, Mr. Freeze.
Mr. Freeze can be done very, very creepy, and he's perfect because his origin is by far the best. And I can tell you why he wasn't in this.
Why?
That origin did not exist yet. That was created by the animated series.
Heart of Ice.
He was just a guy with a cold gun before that.
Yes.
And this is 1989, the same year that television show started. So it was 1990 that Mr. Freeze became Mr. Freeze.
Yes.
He was not used in the comic books before. In fact, he was used in the Hall of Forgotten Characters.
Oh, really?
In Animal Man. He was one of the Hall of Forgotten Characters.
That's crazy.
And that was another book that came out in like 88, 89. Mr. Freeze was nothing from like his first appearance until
he was a gimmick guy.
until his wife was the reason.
Yeah, Nora.
Because before that, it was just like, I'm a bank robber that also needs to be cold for some reason.
He was pretty much just Shocker, right?
You look at pretty much basically the question I'm asking is how would the Batman animated series change the way you would do Arkham Asylum?
A lot.
Because that's the only one that's really introduced good new villains. Like, I can't think of comic book villains that I would want. Like Grant Morrison's run on Batman, I thought was too weird.
I think a Court of Owls representative would be fine because that's a nice little kind of creepy. Like some of the intro where Batman's originally going into the hall and he's seeing all those kind of insulated.
Oh, okay. It should be like he finds a secret room.
Yeah.
And it's got one of the Owlmen and he says, "You're not supposed to be here yet.
You're not supposed to be here yet." That would be cool. And
Batman ignores it because he's going through all kind of messed up stuff.
His head is already somewhere else. It'd be a nice little Easter egg.
And actually, with the way it works, you could bring. I mean, this might be too much for the movie.
Yeah,
but the owls could have been behind, the building being haunted. They could have been behind making Arkham go mad. Like it could have been
they're an ancient cult.
Yeah, they're
right?
an ancient cult. It could have been part of their machinations.
See, that's what I'm talking about.
That would be fun to bring. So that would be a fun character to bring into the modern era, and or it is in the modern era to bring into the Arkham movie that we do. You'd have to do Harley Quinn.
Question: Would you replace Ruth with Harley? Pre Harley Quinn? Would it be Dr. Quinzel? Would that be more interesting?
That would be a very great origin for her.
Yes,
honestly,
going through that and dealing with the Joker and learning
and having to kill somebody
and having to kill someone and feel that trauma.
I love that way more than the origin for the Mad Love origin is great, but then like the New 52 or the Rebirth origin is that she was actually thrown into the same stuff and her skin is white just like him, but it wasn't as
she's
much.
She's white too, but she's not as crazy.
It wasn't as much juice.
Yeah, it was.
That
kind
was
of
the
like,
explanation for
it
why
was
she
a
didn't go
diluted
full
version
crazy.
of the Acme.
I don't know. That seems boring and lame and makes her origin tied to the Joker
way too much.
And whereas this one is kind of her descent into madness, also via Arkham.
It also gives you a reason to make this character young.
Yep. And then also you could have like the very end of it be her talking to Joker in a more romantic way, and then you introduce and we do Mad Love, and then we do Mad Love next,
right? Which is another thing that could be easily adapted.
But like Mr. Freeze, Harley Quinn, I think you have to do both of those. At this point, Catwoman is kind of pretty important. Yet again, an advention of the Batman animated series.
I think she can be done very creepily, but at the same time, you have to be very careful.
The problem is that I only like her as a villain and have no interest whatsoever in reading these.
The love interest.
I just think it's
very
fat
cheap.
Fucking garbage.
Yeah,
it's
very
just
cheap.
Terrible. It's so cheap. I just hate it.
And that's what the comics are doing now.
And the thing is that I love romance in the comic book.
Yeah.
If it was him and Zatanna getting married, I would be like, fuck yes.
Yeah,
that was one of my favorite Batman New Adventures show when it was the flashback one, and it showed him training with the magic with her dad.
With
and it was so cute.
Yeah.
And like she liked him. It was so great. And the comic books have a history of that too.
But you can't say that Date Night is not a good book, though.
I have not read that one.
Date Night's super good.
I've heard that it's super good, but
so
my
well
problem
written.
is that we have to throw out every single bit of Catwoman continuity to do this new story.
Yeah.
And at that point, why not just use a different
Why not
character?
just use a different character
You're
altogether?
changing Catwoman top to bottom. 100% of her character is different now.
And that's a disservice to her in the worst way.
Yes, it makes Catwoman a super uninteresting character. It makes Batman less interesting for being in stories with her.
Right. Because unless it's his character.
It cheapens his character substantially. It's just, I find the whole thing gross. And like I said, the only way they could do it is if they completely write the Catwoman character, which is what they seem to be doing in the new DC books, is that she was like never really a criminal.
She just was like, she just played one on TV, I guess.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, that's boring then.
Yeah.
Because then it's not Batman hooking up with the villain.
Yeah.
So it's none of the stories that are interesting.
That you want, right?
Yeah, it's just vanilla and boring. And like Zatanna would be cool because she would have to open his world to the magic, which he doesn't
really mess with.
He doesn't accept that it exists in some books when he's fighting magic stuff.
Exactly. He's
and
trying
so
to
like
quantify
his
it.
girlfriend being Zatanna and like fucking having Etrigan on speed dial would be an interesting dichotomy. Whereas this dichotomy is boring.
I just want live action Etrigan and have him freestyling the entire time.
So who do we have? Jay-Z?
No.
Who's got the best flow?
The best flow? I would do something weird and put in something like Kendrick Lamar.
How is that weird? Isn't he like the most popular right now?
He's like the most popular and would bring in money.
Yeah.
And he's very conscious, and I think he can write some really decent stuff. Mm-hmm. Question, though.
Yeah.
I want to sub out Killer Croc and put in Bane.
Okay.
As the demon, as the serpent. And let him be the final kind of confrontation for Batman. Because I don't think they both could fit, because they both fit a kind of a weird archetype as, well...
I mean, also, if we're trying to run with the religious aspect, then we need to rethink everything that we've been talking about.
So,
but
leave them both in.
But adding a woman lets you do the Mary story.
Yes.
And so and also, like, she's pure at the beginning, but she's not by the end would be...
That's Harleen Quinzel.
That would be a great retelling
and
of the Mary part.
Joe Marketing would want Bane in there. You know what I mean? So they would probably find a way to shoehorn him in this film. But... you could do a different direction with Bane, because
I don't think they would try to shoehorn Bane, because the last one was the least successful, and
True.
Not that it was a failure by any means. It still made a crap ton of money, but I just don't think that they care much about the character of Bane. I would not be surprised at all if they did it 100% different. And so if you're doing Bane, though, the problem I have with Bane in something like Arkham Asylum is that he's only useful if you mention the time he broke Batman's back.
True.
And so, like, if you do part of it in flashback in this, like, the flashbacks happen, if you add a flashback to, like, the time that Batman was broken.
Yeah.
And so, like, this is... so, like, that... if we're going religious, that would be him on the cross.
Yeah, him on the... Christ on the cedar, right?
So Bane would be the Romans if we were retelling this story. So, like, because... and then the flashback... the Bane... breaking his back could so easily be drawn in the cross. You make Bane really skinny and breaking his back long ways, and so he's coming
Batman
out on the
spread
cross.
Out. Yeah,
I mean that's
money.
That's great, because I think Killer Croc is probably just there as the serpent motif.
That's true. So you keep him in, because it would diffuse
I like
a lot of...
also, like, the way they do Killer Croc now is he's kind of more a
human.
Leave me alone. He's more of a Hulk. Hulk
Yes.
just want to be left alone.
Just let him do his thing, and he'll be fine, right?
And so how could we do that with the Serpent?
Yes.
Like, it could be that
You have to seek him out, kind
or
of
it could
thing.
just be that, like, I got an idea.
The seduction of the serpent.
For Croc, for a different Croc scene. Croc's scene is that he knows the way out.
He
can leave at any time. He just doesn't want to.
because he feels more safe here.
In the sewers below Arkham. But also that is the lizard bringing forbidden knowledge.
Yes. The seduction of the serpent kind of thing, right?
The serpent is coming in and trying to cheat the rules that
Yes.
Joker put down.
Yes. Oh my
So,
goodness,
but Batman has to turn it down.
But Batman has to say, no, I have to do this the right way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I have to do this my
Well, he
way.
does that to an extent with
Yeah.
the doctor where she's like, we've got the way out.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I have to finish this.
have
And
to
I
finish
think
this.
if the serpent was the one offering him the way out, it would be more
It'd be way more metaphorical and way more poignant.
And then, like I said, we just got to add all of the Batman villains that have really received the push. Like, I don't think Penguin's interesting, so I wouldn't want him in it. But they've really tried to make him interesting.
I kind of want Riddler.
The Riddler just works. And the
want
Riddler
Riddler.
can be pretty much any metaphor.
Yeah.
Especially because,
He could be.
because like the trials of Christ are a metaphor for the trials of Hercules.
Yes.
Like all the religions are one story that borrow from each other.
Exactly.
And so we could work that in on the Hercules side of the trials.
Yes. So I definitely.
And also we've got Poison Ivy. She seems really elemental.
She'd be very elemental, and she will also be a source of temptation.
Yeah.
You know, like because Christ was tempted by the devil, but the night before his crucifixion.
Yeah.
So she can fit in there in that kind of way, like you said.
But she would be more of the
shortcut.
Adam and Eve part.
Yeah, she would be. Would you want her to be the tempter of Adam in a weird way? Because Adam, technically, in this story, would be who was Adam represented as? Would you say in this Christ allegory?
Well, I mean,
story?
Adam and Eve don't have to be in the Christ allegory
No,
that
but
we're
I'm just
trying
saying-
to tell.
Yeah,
But just one, I think we need more women. And
Really?
and Poison Ivy
honestly, yes.
has a bunch of the imagery there. The forbidden apple, plants, it's all there
It should
already.
be done creepy.
And you could have her and Croc together
Yeah,
for some reason.
even the serpent.
Yeah.
Okay, it doesn't
Like
matter.
they could be out they could be separate and both of them are just like, we want to leave.
Yeah, we want to leave.
Or
he
no,
knows the way.
Or like Ivy says, I want to leave. Croc knows the way he'll take us. And Batman talks and Croc says, like, I can leave whenever I want. I just like it
I
here.
just like it here.
And so he has to incapacitate Ivy from leaving. And then with Croc, he just lets Croc go.
He's the next cross girl because he's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Green skin or flesh tone, Ivy. For creep factor.
No, not green. No,
I hate green skin.
No,
I just was wondering.
No, and I'd want the outfit to be more primal. It'd probably have to be CGI.
You want it to be like functional, like moving, like a breathing kind of. I think her being more animated is.
I want the plants to be like growing off of her almost. Like they always make her outfit look like it's made out of plants, but it just looks like a stripper made her outfit out of plants.
Yeah.
I want a person who actually looks
Is
like she's
commanding.
growing out of the ground in every
that'd be
scene that she's in. Like she should never have feet. Wherever she is should be roots.
She's clinging to the.
Yeah.
She's almost like Swamp Thing in that way, but of course, in a more
Well, especially for this, because we're just having her in for a few minutes, so we want it to be
Exactly.
as creepy a version as we possibly can do.
for the shock value.
And the Riddler is perfect because the reason I went with Hercules is like you could go riddle of the Sphinx, something like that. And I mean, also there's plenty of people who ask questions of Christ, and it could just be the fill-in for any one of those
And
people.
he can ask those existential questions.
Because that's how the devil tries to tempt him, right? He asks the existential questions
Yes,
the night before. It's
the night
not.
before,
It's like, do
trying
you
to
really
test
want to
his-
do this?
You know what's going to happen. You know
Yeah.
the outcome. You're the son of God. Do you really want to go through this?
Yeah.
It's like it's the same. Could be for Batman. Like you know the way out. Why are you going through all this? What's the point?
Yeah.
What's the riddle of Batman?
Yeah.
Right. And that would be excellent. And it'll be a good way to actually have a decent Riddler on screen. Sorry, Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Oh man, have you seen
Mads Mikkelsen would be an amazing Riddler.
Mads Mikkelsen? I want him to be me. I just want. I want my autobiography or my film to be me. Have you seen any of the Injustice games, like Injustice 2?
Not enough to know the story or anything.
It's not really story. It's just like the looks. The looks you're mentioning is a very organic Ivy. And it's all facial mocap. It's a beautiful game, but it makes me think of that in regards to her look. She should be more primal, almost like an elemental,
almost like the tree folks from like Lord of the Rings.
As she's standing there, she's growing roots into the ground through concrete. You know what I mean? Oh,
and then she herself is the tree.
Yeah. And she could be
both tree and the Eve wrapped.
Can you imagine if she just grows an apple, just plucks it, and eats it off? That would be such a visual, beautiful thing.
Yeah, and that's obviously what would happen.
Exactly. As she's talking to him, and just a part grows out and grows an apple. She's like, "Oh, would you like some?" Batman's like, "No, I'm on my
Might
Batman
be too
grind."
over the top. I think she just eats it in front of him and doesn't mention it.
Nice and subtle. And subtle.
We want to put the B in subtle here.
The B, yes sir. For this, we don't want to give away the ending. Now I want to get to a point where we actually do a ranking of this beautiful book. Out of 0 out of 5, what would you rate Grant Morrison's Batman Arkham Asylum?
I guess 5. It's the maximum of any scale that can be given.
It's one of those perfect books.
It is a perfect comic book.
And this is coming from a gentleman who's read thousands.
Yeah, you could look just around this room. There are thousands of books that I've read, and Batman Arkham Asylum is above almost all of them. It's definitely the number one Batman story ever told for me.
Thank you. I feel the exact same way. And it's so finite. It's so into itself that you could sub it into any part of Batman lore and it fits.
Yeah, this
Future
could
books
just be,
could talk about this. It'll make sense.
You could literally put this as just a random issue of Batman at almost any time.
Yeah.
And it's about him breaking down from the endless fight that he's in, which is always Batman.
Yes.
So this could be detective issue number anything.
And it would make perfect sense. And the thing that really trips me out is that no one has adapted this really. Like, there's no real...
Well, I mean, I kind of understand with what your fans were saying that it's just really hard to
How
adapt.
do you do that?
Keep in mind that our pitches involve like black and white animated sequences, and then every actor who has played Batman. So
have fun with that, right?
We're thinking outside the box pretty deeply. And I think you have to for this book.
Yes.
I mean, the reason you cast a horror movie and I cast like the Metamorphosis.
Yes, the Metamorphosis.
is because that's what this book is.
That's what it forces out of you.
It should not be made if it is not that.
That's why.
Then it is not. Then do not make it.
I heard when Arkham Asylum first came out, and I was extremely scared because I was like, it can't be the book.
Yeah.
Because this is not made by the guys of Silent Hill.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is a Resident Evil. It's Batman doing punch combos.
Yeah.
So it's not obviously going to be faithful to the source material. But they went in a different direction, which is fine. But I
mean, the first one was the best one.
It was the best one. Hands
and
down.
It had the most stuff about this book, and it had most stuff about Batman kind of going mad from what he was doing. Even though it was the background story, you didn't have to do that story. It was still there.
I
I had to do 100% on that game.
The Scarecrow scenes, man.
Very good.
Where Paul Kent just comes out of the plastic bag.
Oh, yeah.
It just goes into your face.
Those were perfect. And then the levels were completely different gameplay. Like you had to fight through the nightmare. That was perfect.
Perfect, right?
Those first two games were... The first two, right? And then the third one was the disaster.
Third one was meh because they wanted to act like the cat wasn't out the bag. Oh, who's the Arkham Knight? We know it's Red Hood. Just tell us it's Red Hood so we can move on. No. Benedict Cumberbatch is not Khan. It's that kind of bullshit, dude.
Yeah.
But 5 out of 5, man. It's
absolutely.
I would recommend this to. It's an adult book, but it's not graphic.
Correct.
Right? It's
adult in how creepy it is. Like we were talking about The Exorcist.
Yes.
There's nothing that a 13-year-old can't see in The Exorcist except that it's scary as hell
and it will break their brain.
Yes. So it's like that. It's like if you look at any one page, there's nothing where you're like, my 13-year-old can't read this.
Yes.
But they wouldn't comprehend it. That's the way I describe it to when
exactly.
Like adult people come looking in for stuff. I'm like, okay, if you're buying this for a 5-year-old, there's nothing that they can't see in here, but there's no way a 5-year-old is going to grasp the narrative concept.
I had to research stuff when we first read this as a young adult. I had to look back and research this book and read all of the weird little finer notes in the back.
Well, like the new 25th anniversary hardcover. Do you have this version?
No, I have the original, the version that we had back in the day.
But this one has the script in the back.
Yes.
Do you have that?
Yes.
This one also has liner notes from.
I don't have the liner notes.
This one has liner notes, and they're by Grant.
Oh, that's so cool.
So it's like
he's one man I wish I could meet.
He's the movies that he's quoting in here are mentioned in the footnotes now.
So good.
So like you've got to get the 25th anniversary edition. He did a whole new post introduction for
this is a very lazy shill, but can these be purchased at Jeffrey's Comics?
They sure can. Every Batman trade paperback ever can be purchased at Jeffrey's Comics. So come on by or give us a call at 310-538-3198.
This guy is the Cadillac of men right here. Any passing thoughts on this book before we close out?
The main thought is either do it 100% right or don't do it.
Thank you.
Like that's
Thank you.
What I feel a lot of the mistakes that the Hollywood people are making is like, go to your comic book people and say, I want a movie with a tone like this.
Yes.
We will provide you the character to do that.
Yes.
Don't say, I want you to make Green Lantern like Spider-Man.
Because that's not going to work.
Then we're not making a Green Lantern movie.
We're making a Spider-Man movie.
With the green ring in it.
Exactly.
And so it's like, okay, did you mean to ask?
Yes.
Do we have a popular DC character that could be billed like Spider-Man?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Because these guys
it
don't
is not
know.
Fucking Green Lantern.
It's not Green Lantern. Please. None of the versions of Green Lantern would fit
hello,
that.
it's the Flash TV show that everybody's been watching for 4 years.
Yes, that's the best Peter Parker you're going to get. Honestly, I would fan cast Grant Gustafson as Peter Parker in a hot second.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
as a mature
honestly,
Peter Parker.
That's what they did.
Yeah.
None of the stuff that they're doing is the character of Barry Allen.
None of it's Barry.
None of it's Barry.
It's all Pete. It's not even Wally.
It's all Peter and Wally. There's plenty of Wally stuff in there.
Oh my goodness.
Like pretty much except for his romance with Iris,
yeah.
Every single thing that he does
in his mannerisms,
in his personality and mannerisms is Wally, and it's just that his job description and girlfriend description are different. Barry's.
Are Barry's, man.
It's just Wally put in Barry's life.
Yes, pretty much.
And take that as good because I don't have a Wally comic book to read.
Exactly.
So I kind of get Wally in a spiritual sense, so that's a big reason why.
One thing I love about DC that differs about Marvel is that everybody has their version of a character. Mm-hmm. Like, who's your Flash?
Wally.
My weird enough, my Flash is Barry because I came in to DC thanks to Jeffrey's Comics during Green Lantern Rebirth.
Okay.
I came in right in there. I've been a Marvel guy since I was a kid.
That would be the only class of people that could possibly pick Barry over Wally.
Yes.
That you never read Wally.
I never read Wally until that point. Yeah. And then I went right into Flash Rebirth.
Yeah.
Which bred Flashpoint and all that crazy stuff.
I want to talk to Jeff about this because it's like, you obviously loved Wally. You wrote him for 4 or 5 years.
Yes.
Why did you just throw everything away and make it Barry? It's like, this was all you and Mark. Like, you and Mark built this character from the ground up
forever.
It's like from issue 62 to 100 to 200 and something. It was 2 writers basically.
I think because they wanted to go back. They wanted to go back to basics.
But the basics can be Wally.
And that's one thing.
They didn't get rid of Kyle Rayner when they brought him back, but they got rid of Wally when they brought Barry back, and it's completely unnecessary.
My whole point is that DC has lineage. Like, DC has strong lineage.
And they're finally bringing it back. The Flash Annual is going to be, does Wally want to be the Flash again?
Right. And it's like, how do you feel about A Tale of Two Wallys?
I don't mind. They actually explained it in a super cool way because our Wally from pre-universe is a different person. West cousin.
Yes.
So they're both named Wally West, but they are different. They have different mothers, I guess,
and that splinters off. Mm-hmm. And they're cousins, so they're related. So
theoretically, although they have not addressed this, both only in the comic books. Sorry if we're confusing you, TV watchers.
Yes.
In the comic books, they would technically be cousins, but from different dimensions. So they'd basically be Power Girl and Superman.
Yeah, Power Girl.
They'd be like, we're cousins that have never met. Like, I technically know your dad, kind of.
Right.
And I technically know your mom, kind of, in my dimension.
They met at a cookout.
They didn't have you. They had me.
They had me.
Etc. So it leaves some complications for sure.
Yeah.
But I need it because I need Wally back.
Oh, man. Like my Green Lantern's Hal because of Rebirth.
Yeah.
Rebirth is...
It's weird because you came in and started reading all of the books that were meant to be nostalgia factories for people
Right?
much
Isn't
older
that
than
such
you.
a weird way
Because
to
like
come in?
anybody who's like 30, if you talk to any of our 30-year-old customers,
Yeah.
they're like, Wally is the Flash, this Barry is garbage.
Mm-hmm.
And so anybody younger than that doesn't even know who Wally is.
Right.
And anybody older than that prefers Barry
Prefers
because they read Barry.
They read Barry back in the day.
So it's like this 10-year, there's like 10 years of fans who are just like, Wally is the only Flash dude.
Right, get
And
a
then-
grip.
And then like there's a handful of people who are like, Kyle's the only Green Lantern dude.
Right, like, and that's where I came in. And it's the weirdest thing, because even in the animated series, it was Wally. Right? Even in the animated
He's
series.
named as Wally in one episode of that series, proving that he is Wally and not Barry.
Exactly. And even at the episode with the Flash Museum, they mentioned, they mentioned Barry very, very, they say, my uncle's running late. Even in that episode.
Cute little joke.
Cute little joke. And even on the Once and Future King episode of Justice League Unlimited, Hal's in a split-second episode.
Yeah.
And Hal's just like, yeah, I'm on top of it. Time portals, I got it.
Yeah.
Because they're swapping out Green Lanterns and time was fluctuating. Because it's funny, I read this thing and they were talking about when Ron Reynolds was chosen as Hal Jordan and Green Lantern. It's like, I thought Green Lantern was black.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's your generation.
Yeah.
A lot of people's Green Lantern is Jon Stewart.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people in my generation, because of the cartoons,
Well, I think
don't know what a Hal is.
I think a big mistake that a lot of the comic book companies make is that they just have to accept that the movie is the dominant version.
It is.
And so unless you're like Marvel and have some control over it, you need to exert control over it, or you need to change the comic books to reflect it.
One way or
like
another.
Everybody's
One way or
talking
another.
about Marvel, and the argument is about that they went too inclusive.
Yeah.
And I would say that it's not inclusion, it's that they literally didn't have a single comic book
Right.
that reflected the movie universe, except Guardians was the only comic book that was like the movie universe.
Right.
It's like, I just read Captain America. Is Steve Rogers Cap? Oh, yeah, he is, but he's a Nazi. Or you can get the Captain America where Falcon's the Captain America. It's like, neither. Thank you.
That's funny you say that, because I always tell friends who are butthurt about the comics, like, wait till a movie comes out. The ship will right itself. If you don't
Except Marvel, the problem is that was the obvious plan.
Yeah.
And then Marvel stopped doing it.
It's like I was one of those guys who didn't like Superior Spider-Man. I didn't like the idea.
I wasn't a huge fan.
And I didn't like the body swap thing.
Yeah.
But I knew that once Amazing Spider-Man 2 came out, Pete was going to be back as Spider-Man because of marketing. But
you're saying that did not happen with Marvel.
It didn't. That's your whole point, right?
That's my whole point. Is
Oh,
that
that's
also
so
like
weird.
any of these characters would be great as inclusive characters
Yeah.
alongside the regular characters, because you need to have a business for the people who are seeing these movies. Hey,
Yeah.
I would like I like Bruce Banner, the Hulk, in that movie.
Yeah.
Well, he's not Hulk anymore.
He's super dead. Do you like
An
Amadeus
Asian
Cho?
kid is
Yeah.
Hulk, but he's super smart and doesn't fight.
But that's not Hulk, though.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the newest book, though. How do you
I really
sell
like
that?
the new Thor 3. Do you have any books with Thor? No.
No. It's what's her face now.
It's Jane Foster.
It's Jane
She's
Foster.
Thor. All of these books are actually well done. I love the Jane Foster Thor.
But
I'm saying from a business point of view, you just released Thor 3 and there are no books that you can buy with that character in it.
Little Jimmy leaves. I'm going to be very local SoCal. Yeah. Little Jimmy leaves the South Bay Galleria from seeing Thor Ragnarok. He goes directly to Jeffrey's Comics. Mm-hmm. I want a Thor comic. Give me the newest Thor comic.
Thor's not in it.
Thor's not in it.
And he won't be in it for 3 or more years.
3 more years. Would you like a paperback? What's that? Yeah. I'm bored. I'm going to GameStop.
Yeah.
Right? It totally...
And it's also like...
It's rough. It's got to be rough.
And the other thing is that just... essentially they've let Brian Bendis win.
Kind of, yeah.
And just
his leaving, he's victorious.
Just every story is 6 issues long now. Every story. Mm-hmm. And it's like, how am I supposed to sell that? That means I can sell that book twice a year when the #1 part comes out.
Exactly.
And every one of your things should be a #1. Everybody who comes from Thor should just be able to buy the next issue of Thor. It doesn't have to be a new #1. Thor 587 should be a standalone story with Thor in it.
Any book is someone's first book.
Exactly.
Any comic is someone's first
Marvel
comic.
and DC have lost the thread on that so
because it's
so
you know
profusely.
what killed it? for me was Civil War. Civil War, the book, not the film. It made 101 different comics based on Civil War. You had no idea where to start. You know what I mean? Unless, like, do I want Punisher Civil War, or do I want
She-Hulk Civil War? Hot ones.
And it's
because
like,
it was the first week was the Punisher tie-in and the She-Hulk tie-in, so nobody ordered enough.
They've lost that art. I feel you on
that. I wouldn't say for Civil War, because the one thing I would say is that you need to save the multi-arced story and have it be for miniseries.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you want to tell an 8-part Spider-Man story, that's not the story for Amazing Spider-Man.
Right.
Amazing Spider-Man is for 1 or at most 2 and done stories. That is it.
That's what I like about DC, because DC has a bunch of Batman books, but the ones I'm thinking about is Batman and Detective Comics. And Batman's about Batman, and Detective Comics is kind of about everything around Batman.
Yes.
And that's brilliant.
Yeah. And also, even though those are long storylines, they come out twice a month, so the story doesn't feel as friggin' decompressed as when you're reading a 6-issue of Jessica Jones.
Right.
Where it's like, there were 2 scenes over that 6 months of comic book.
Because he dragged it out so much.
And it's like, because you read these books and you're like, what happened last issue? And you go back and you're like, oh, nothing important happened last issue.
So
like,
why buy it?
It's like,
right?
Well, it's like I'm reading. I read Spider-Man 2.
Yeah,
the miniseries. Did you read that?
That's the one with Miles and Peter, right?
Yeah,
I didn't read it, but I know of it. Yes,
but it's like, it's so disjointed and the pacing is so bad. It's like 6 issues that should be 4 or 3 even. It's just every storyline needs to come in and have stuff cut out of it. And,
that's rough.
And if you want to tell these long stories, you need to accept that those hurt your sales.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand how Marvel and DC can look at their history and it's like, we were selling 1 million issues when we told 3 stories in one comic book. Now when we tell 1/6 of a story in one comic book, we're at the worst market share we've ever been in.
Because it doesn't work that
but
way.
let's not address that in any way.
Right.
Let's put more 3D covers on the books.
Let's put so many different variants.
And there's 6 variants for every book that comes out from
the
Marvel.
one variant I hate the most, and I'm sorry, is the black and white, is the blank one.
You don't like the blanks?
I don't.
As an artist, don't you want to draw on them?
I do. Like, I like the blanks in regards to I'm going to a convention and like I have my guy sketch it. Yeah. But for anyone just walking in,
no, that's how we sell them.
Right.
Everybody plans on taking them to a convention to draw.
Because I've done it 100 times. Like, I'll buy a Batman.
That's the only use for them.
Okay, but I mean, I was thinking like in regards to a mass market. I was like, why is this blank? It's really bold to do that unless you're in the know. Yeah. Like a little.
But I mean, you shouldn't only have the blank covers of a book,
right?
If you're a store owner,
that's the right. Can you imagine you walk into a comic store, they only have the blank con versions? It's like, I don't know what this book's about.
I mean, they only do it with the number 1s and stuff, but
that's cool. That's cool. Well, Jeff, where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Jeffrey's Comics.
Yes, sir.
Facebook at Jeffrey's Comics.
Yes, sir.
And you can find me at the actual location, Jeffrey's Comics, at 15900 Crenshaw Boulevard in Gardena, California. And you can give us a call at 310-538-3198. We'll help you find any of the books that Mike ever is talking about.
Get him on the phone, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to tell you one of my favorite Jeffrey moments of all time. And this is with my father when I was a young child. And this is at their original location at the giant Spider-Man.
Yeah.
On the roof. It was a giant, I want to say it was a Todd McFarlane.
It was actually Stephen Platt, but it was Stephen Platt copying the Todd McFarlane cover.
Thank you. And my dad didn't have a car, so we were on the bus, and we took the bus up there, and I got good grades, so I got to get a comic and a set of Marvel Masterpiece cards, which I used to buy all the time. And my dad went next door, and I was wandering around, and your father, Jeff, was like, hey, who's your favorite superhero? And I was like, Captain America. And he gave me a Captain America book. And it's like, here, I want you to read this. And my dad walked in and said, how much is it? He's like, well, if you buy a comic, I'll just let him have that one. This is for him to read. And I cherish that. I still have that book to this day.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it just made me in love with your store ever since I was a child. Because honestly, between you guys and Golden Apple, which is another one of the older stores, you're the closest. You're always the closest and more warmer of the stores. And you've always had you've always had because sometimes comic book stores can have the misconception, what I'm trying to say, of being elitist or almost too enclosed. But you walk into Jeffrey's, they're asking you questions.
Yeah.
They're showing you the graphic novels. They're saying, what are you into? What kind of Batman story do you want? What kind of Superman story do you want? Toys, pop vinyls. It's a one-stop shop. And what makes it cooler is that there's a video game store right next door. So I get to do all my fixes in one day.
Yep.
And I would recommend anyone in the California, SoCal area to check out this store.
I mean, that's one of the things is that we always just try to help people find what they're looking for. We don't care if we like it.
If you like it,
if I like it, I'll talk to you about it.
Yes.
If I don't like it, I'll just be like, here you go.
Here you go.
If you want more like it, this is where they are.
Yes.
It's like I won't do a sales pitch on something I don't like. Like that's
disingenuous.
I'm not going to be disingenuous. Like people ask me about something and I'm like, it wasn't my favorite.
Yeah, so definitely check out Jeffrey's Comics. It's one of the oldest existing comics,
It's
right?
the oldest comic book store in south of San Francisco and south. It is the oldest comic store in California.
That's lineage, ladies and gentlemen. This is a DC comic into itself is the store.
40th year this year. November or October. My dad opened it like September or October. So
I can't wait to see what you guys are going to do.
Well, it's also 40 years for our other location in Santa Monica.
Yes.
So Heidi-Ho is turning 40 as well. And
That's
we're
cool.
moving at the same time. So I will be probably focusing a bit more on the Heidi-Ho celebrations.
Yes.
But when I invite people, I'm going to try to get them to do one thing at each store.
I mean, it's not like to quote Clueless, everything in LA takes 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So go to both.
Yeah, exactly.
Get you somebody who can do both. Mm-hmm. Oh, man. This has been amazing, Jeff. I want to
had a
thank
ton
you
of fun
for doing this show, talking about this amazing book that honestly is like a fine wine. It gets better with age.
Absolutely.
I open it again.
Every time I read it. And especially because like the first time I read it, I was a young man and didn't have the concepts that were required to grasp what is going on.
It's like watching an older... I remember I saw RoboCop for the first time in a long time. Like, because I used to watch RoboCop as a kid.
Yeah.
And I watched it again as an adult, and it's so different.
It's funny.
And
it's like, I don't remember it being funny.
Right?
Because all of those jokes were for adults.
Yes.
Like, I'd buy that for $1.
I'll buy that for $1. You know, give me my fucking phone call. It spits on the actual, like, table. But this book just grows with you. Mm-hmm. And it's as smart as you want it to be, and it will give you opportunities to learn as much as you want to learn.
And learn about yourself, too. Like, it's what all the best fiction does. And you see what Batman's challenges are, and you can kind of put your own challenges within them.
Absolutely. It's so... You could wear it like a coat, ladies and gentlemen, especially on a nice rainy night and on how this book starts.
Mm-hmm. Especially if there's howling wind and lightning.
Howling wind and lightning on a
It's
dark
be
and
really
stormy
scary
night.
when you read it.
Yes, it has to be real.
Hopefully your power is out and you're reading it by candlelight.
Yes, as soon as the Joker part comes out, all the lights go out, power goes out, bam, and now you're scared, and now you're in the spooks. Mood lighting,
scary mood,
scariness intensifies. Mm-hmm. As always, you can find this podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, SoundCloud, YouTube, and iHeartRadio. And I will always ask to please leave a like, comment, or subscribe because it helps the channel grow. And it will give me more insight on what I can fix because I am not a perfect man. And I am a flawed human, and will take any kind of consideration.
I think that's one thing that a lot of people have kind of given up on, like with the internet culture of Yelp and reviews online. They've given up the idea of actually conversing with the people they do business with. It's like, because it's like when you have if you have a negative experience at a business, you need to tell the person who's in charge.
Yes.
Because like if you had a fight with someone who's just running the cash register, I as a manager am never going to know that happened. So like you can say like, oh, I had a bad experience here. And if all you want is to just vocalize your own feelings.
Yes.
But if you want to actually improve the world, the way you do it is interact with people.
Yes.
And so you've got to say like, because we have some bad reviews where it's like, oh, they were helping because they were helping their friends. And it's like, they're not necessarily our friends. They're the customers who have been coming for 10 years. We know exactly what they want. This conversation started 10 years before you walked in the door.
Exactly.
So it's like, would you rather go to a store that treated new customers better than its old ones?
Right.
Like you have made a complaint that is just about you and not about the actual world of business.
And that's Yelp. It's someone who doesn't understand giving a point of view from their only point of view.
Yeah, because we were talking about
Yes.
it, like, oh, if you have a bad experience in a comic book store,
Yes.
make sure you tell the owner.
Yes.
Like, find out who the owner is and make sure they know. If they're aware that it's a bad situation and they're not doing anything, then you can judge that store.
Yes.
But just keep in mind, at any store you go to, like, the guy who's getting paid minimum wage to work there is not necessarily the face of the business.
And he's not going to be passionate about it as much.
He's the face of the business that day, but that's not the business.
Yes.
And so one bad experience should not be enough for anybody to write a bad Yelp review. It should require like 2 trips where you were treated poorly in the same way.
Yeah, and I'm going to give you some inside baseball because I actually work with something called reputation management.
Oh, wow.
And what it pretty much is, it's training businesses to react to these situations that may be volatile in regards to a Yelp review or a bad review. The first thing you do is you triage the situation. You don't ignore it. You immediately respond. You find out what the actual issue is and you make it public. So if I was to read a bad review, let's say for a restaurant, and I see that the owner jumped into the conversation and wanted and worked to rectify the situation, that would make me respect the business even more because I see that they actually care about the opinions of their clientele.
Yeah.
And it's one of the hardest things to sell to someone because no one wants a confrontation.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to actually acknowledge.
Oh, I mean, that would be my recommendation for the business owner's side.
Yes, the business owner's
honestly
side.
to be, if you're only going to respond negatively, don't respond to Yelp.
Yeah.
There's no point in doing it because like there's a couple like that you go on and you see that every negative one is like a fight from the owner.
Yeah.
And it's like, that looks worse than the bad reviews.
That looks worse than not saying anything.
Yeah, just leave the bad reviews because honestly, at this point, most people who use Yelp know that there's crazy bad reviews. On there.
And there's a difference between I couldn't find parking 0 out of 5 stars.
Yeah.
And the customer service was horrid. I felt like I was isolated.
Yeah.
There's two different kinds of reviews, but as a store owner, you have to understand.
Oh, I feel Yelp needs to separate the two. They need to separate the product that you're providing because that's a way that you're rated and the service that you provide.
It's two different things.
It's 2 different things and also 2 things that people care about in very, very different levels.
Yes.
Like, I don't really care about service in a restaurant. Like, as long as my glass never gets empty and the food isn't cold, our interaction is done. I don't need a how you doing. I don't need conversation. Yeah. I don't need anything.
Nobody needs the glad hand until they feel like they need the glad hand.
Yeah.
It's all about atmosphere and it's all about representation. And if you're on the customer side, like Jeff said, don't judge a book by its cover. And a lot of times you walk into a place, that person may be having a bad day. They may not feel like to be too over the top.
Yeah.
And you need to talk to someone a little bit upper to explain the situation.
I mean, also just in general, I think people don't know what it's like to run a small business.
Yeah.
Like the amount of pressure that is on for anybody who owns any small business is massive.
Yes.
Like I do not come in and read comic books. That is not the job of a comic book store owner.
Right.
I have to be balancing spreadsheets about cost benefit analysis. I have to check every issue every month to see if it's still selling what it sold last month.
Yes.
Like I haven't sat down and read a comic book in probably a month.
Yeah.
And it was just I sat down. I was like, I'm reading all of Metal because I'm behind.
Yes. I'm behind on all of it, right?
So here's like 12 issues for me to read on a flight, and that was the way I got the time to read it.
So reputation management. I tell my clients all the time, the bad review is your strength. You want to jump ahead of that. You want to tackle that because everything's good until it's not. And you see the true sign of a business when you get that negative review. And if it's an incoherent claim, then you could just dismiss it.
Well, the problem I have with Yelp is they don't dismiss it because
dismiss it.
They're supposed to dismiss incoherent and rude claims. And I'm like, I've got 2. And they have never been reviewed.
You have to contact them.
I've contacted them. I think Yelp is garbage. Like as a business, I think they're criminals.
They're very much criminals. In regards to managing this information.
Yeah.
They just let it go up there like a blog post. You know what I mean? They just let it air, and they don't understand the weight that this affects on businesses.
Yeah, they don't care
because
they completely understand the weight because they call
Google
you and ask you to put
for
advertisements on it and call you all the time and ask.
Because I'm gonna tell you 2 things I would deem you as a business on Google is your content being correct, making sure all your information is correct across all of your online representations, and your rating scores.
Yeah.
Your ratings have to be at a certain place for Google to rank you higher, even in a macro search. Yeah. So if you have a 5 out of 5 rating, you just type in the word California comic book, you're going to come on the top of the page no matter where you are.
Okay.
But if you're halfway there, I think it's going to drop.
I think Facebook were like 4.5,
Yeah.
Google and Yahoo were like 4.5, and Yelp is always a bit harsher, so we're 4.
Yeah, because it's not perfect, and Google's a lot more stronger on monitoring nonsense versus actual issues.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah. So please like, comment, and subscribe on this podcast. And I thank you for your time. I'm of course your host, Mike G, and this has been Jeffrey from Jeffrey's Comics.
Yo,
sir. And I will always ask you to keep reading, loyal listeners and loyal readers. Thank you.